excretion, and I don't think this is a major issue, but I'm sure it will get sorted out. And of course, there is a.
Tonight on This Is Exclusive, we decode CIA's deception plan. Was it only to rescue an airman, or was it to get their hands on the nuclear stockpile? A top Iranian voice joins us on This Is Exclusive.
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा।
3, 2, 1. Booster ignition. Artemis 2 now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
Okay, overboard dump coming up.
Actually, there is always a redundant chain of excretion systems available on the Artemis. Okay, it is not just the main chain, and it is a redundant chain is also available. And there is no way that the astronauts will be stuck because of the the excretion issues. And what they have reported now, even we were going through and seeing, it is something to do with the valve which is to operate for section of the excretion, which looks to be needing attention. But the crew in Artemis, they are well trained to handle such type of situation. And also, in case if the main chain of the excretion system doesn't respond, there is always a way of redundant chain and the methodology for excretion. And I don't think this is a major issue, but I'm sure it will get sorted out. And of course, there is a redundant chain which can be conveniently operated.
Good luck. Godspeed, Artemis 2. Let's go.
And here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7. RS-25 engines. 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition. And liftoff. The crew of Artemis 2 now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
You're watching our special show on the 2026 elections, The Verdict. Now, in our special broadcast, we get you what's happening in the election-bound states, right from Bengal to Assam. What has Prime Minister said as he takes on Congress in Assam, to what is Amit Shah promising on Sabrimala issue? We'll get you all the updates in this show, but first up, a quick check at the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi attacks the Congress, says it is a party of two families and always prioritizes dynastic interests. Home Minister Amit Shah set to conclude the NDA campaign for Assam Assembly polls by addressing three rallies across the state tomorrow. Filing nomination papers for the upcoming Tamil Nadu Assembly polls ends today as parties turn their attention to campaigning and strategy.
Mr. Stalin is trying to do to make Udayanidhi the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu will never happen. The people of Tamil Nadu will never accept Udayanidhi Stalin.
Speaking exclusively to Republic, a BJP poll in charge of Piyush Goyal slams the DMK government for double standard and says People of Tamil Nadu will not accept Udayanidhi as their leader. Home Minister Amit Shah and Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin hold campaigns in Puducherry as Union Territory goes to vote on Thursday. All right, viewers, our top focus at this hour, what's happening in the poll-bound state of West Bengal. Now, CGI has commented on the Malda violence, saying it was a pre-planned, instigated and in fact deeply instigating in nature. He also goes on to say that we want to see this to come to a logical end. Now, that's a big remark that is coming from the Chief Justice of India, Justice Surya, who's now said that Malda violence, what took place in West Bengal when 7 judicial officers were garrowed, threatened, held hostage for several hours before central forces intervened. He's calling it motivated, pre-planned and deeply instigating in nature. In fact, he also goes on to mention that how it was only after CGI's intervention that there was action by police on the ground, and central forces in fact had to be looped in to ensure that one can in fact free the judicial officers. He's calling out the inaction by the local police, and CGI now commenting on the Malda violence, clearly calling it pre-planned and instigating in nature. All right, my colleague Sarthak now joins me with more details on this. Sarthak, break it down at the top comment by CGI on the Malda violence. He calls it deeply instigating in nature and pre-planned. All right, Sarthak, can you hear me? All right, viewers will try and connect with my colleague Sarthak later, but right now the bigger takeaway coming in from CJI himself on Malda violence. He calls it deeply instigating in nature and also pre-planned, while calling out the inaction by local police in the incident. That's the big statement coming in from the top court on the Malda violence, which took place in West Bengal. There were 7 judicial officers garrowed, threatened and held hostage for several hours, and police in fact did not reach the spot in time. And now CGI himself calling out the inaction of the police in this case, while calling the entire case of Malda violence as a deeply instigating in nature and pre-planned as well. All right, now going back to my colleague Sarthak there. Sarthak, break it down for our viewers. The top comments are made by CGI in this case. He calls it deeply instigating in nature as well as a pre-planned act.
Yes, today it was a suo motu hearing in the Supreme Court, in the Court of Chief Justice of India, Surya Kant, where he made some really crucial observations in the entire case, where he said that the garrow done in the Malda district in West Bengal some time ago was actually pre-planned and it was instigated, and it was a complete failure of the state machinery. The incident took place on April 1. Just to give a little background of the case, 7 judicial officers, including 3 women judicial officers, were garrowed by a large group of people, and the court has said that it was a complete failure of the state machinery. It was the responsibility of the administrative department, the police and everyone and various other authorities to make sure that the judicial officers are protected and safeguarded, and such an incident should not have happened. And it has also, the Supreme Court has also warned that if law and order fails, then Supreme Court will have to step in. It has to be mentioned that during the arguments in the court, Additional Solicitor General S.V. Raju pointed out that in total 24 to 26 accused have been taken into custody. There are total 12 FIRs have been filed in the court, including the one where a woman judicial officer was carried out, and certain statements came from her, certain remarks came from her that if something happens to me, my child should be taken care of. This was very explicitly mentioned in the court, and the Supreme Court has said that the state police completely failed to make sure that the judicial officers are protected. Hence, now the Supreme Court has directed that the case should be transferred to NIA. The entire investigation will be done by NIA, and the state authorities, the police, will have to comply with the directions given by the NIA, and they'll have to support the probe conducted by the NIA in the further hearing. And a final report will be filed in the Kolkata High Court. However, the Supreme Court has also mentioned that before a final charge sheet is filed in the High Court of Calcutta, they must also give periodic reports, and they must file those reports in the Supreme Court explaining what all investigation is being taken care of. Back to you.
All right, thanks Sarthak for breaking it down for our viewers. What exactly the top court has said on Malda violence. My colleague Harsha also joins us on this. Harsha, let me read it out for you. Justice Bagchi has now said it was only because of timely intervention of the Chief Justice of India that something untoward was avoided that night. Now, he also calls it pre-planned and deeply instigating, which means there was something big about to happen which stopped due to Chief Justice intervention.
Yes, you rightly pointed out, and we saw how CJI himself took the suo motu cognizance of the Malda violence. What exactly happened there? We can't forget that night of 1st April, how the entire judicial officers, in which there were 3 women officers as well, they were held captive for more than 8 hours. After that, CJI himself took the cognizance of the entire matter. Calcutta High Court informed the Apex Court what exactly happened about it. The show causes notice were given to the DGP, DG, Chief Secretary, SP of Malda, and District Magistrate also. And today the Apex Court, when the report was submitted on this hearing was happened today, the Apex Court really stated that this was pre-planned, it was instigating, and this violence was deeply motivated. And we have seen how the arrests have happened. So many arrests have happened on the Malda violence, and NIA is already investigating into the issue, and how it was deeply planned. It was all planned that how to stop the SIR adjudication process, how to stop the process for which the judicial officers had reached here, and how to disrupt the hearings and everything for which the officers were there. We saw what happened in Malda until 2 o'clock in the morning. The Apex Court was itself monitoring till the time the judicial officers were not taken out from the Malda. And it was serious lapse on the part of the law and order. And that's the reason why the show cause notice was also issued to the additional district magistrate of the Malda as well, who handles the law and order. That the law and order went completely haywire on the side of Malda. And this is the situation we are talking about, the pre-poll violence. It is a pre-poll violence which took place in the Malda area, and it is during the process how important the SIR process is, how important it is to take out the electorals, dispose of the electorals from the adjudication. And in that situation, the judicial officers were held captive. They were not allowed to leave Malda. The vehicles were attacked. The driver overturned, the driver of the vehicle got overturned. And this is a situation we are talking about Malda. If this could happen to the judicial officers, it's immense security lapse. It could happen to anyone. And this is what the Apex Court is speaking about. And the next hearing is on April 13th. And the Apex Court has clearly stated that they want the logical end to the report. That clearly means that logical end clearly states that the CS, the DGP, the SP, the Kolkata Commissioner, everyone has to put the logical reasoning into what happened in that pre-planned violence. It was deeply motivated. It was the TMC's desperation. It was the goons, it was the Karyakartas, or the local people who were involved in captivating the judicial officers. How come they did that, and why the CRPF officials were not deployed at that particular time? Right now, there are more than 2,400 companies have been deployed in West Bengal, and still there was no CRPF in Malda area. We are talking about North Bengal, which has witnessed immense violence in the past as well. 2021, there has been pre-poll violence, post-poll violence. Deaths were reported in 2024 Lok Sabha elections also. So that's a place where the immense number of the personnel should have been deployed.
Thanks, Harsha and Sarthak, both of you for joining us and sharing what the top court, in fact, has said on Malda violence. Thanks so much. And now viewers are moving on to other election-bound state. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is leading the final leg of NDA's campaign for Assam. Addressing about 3 rallies across the hill state today, Prime Minister Modi directly attacked the previous government of Congress on the issue of infiltration. He said that Congress has a family-first approach, accusing them of prioritizing dynastic interests over the progress of Assam. Now, Assam goes to polls on April 9th and the campaigning has already intensified on ground. Take a look at this report.
Prime Minister Modi wrapped up his campaign for poll-bound Assam by addressing a rally in Dibrugarh. This was his third address across the state today. While speaking in Dibrugarh, he lauded NDA's efforts and slammed the Congress for being corrupt and incompetent.
2014 में कांग्रेस को विदाई दी, बाय बाय किया और बीजेपी एनडीए को दिल्ली में अवसर दिया। हमारी सरकार ने इस काम को तेजी से पूरा किया और 2016 में मुझे ही असम गैस क्रैकर प्रोजेक्ट का लोकार्पण करने का अवसर मिला।
In his previous speeches, the Prime Minister also attacked the Congress over a host of issues. He claimed that the Congress is a party of 2 families, the Delhi family and the Assam family.
साथियों, एक तरफ बीजेपी एनडीए की डबल इंजन सरकार असम के हर परिवार का जीवन बेहतर बनाने में जुटी है, वहीं दूसरी तरफ कांग्रेस सिर्फ 2 परिवारों का फ्यूचर बनाने में ही जुटी है। 2 परिवारों का भाग्य, यही उनका काम है। एक परिवार है दिल्ली में रहने वाला शाही परिवार और दूसरा यहां असम में एक परिवार है। इनका नारा है फैमिली फर्स्ट। क्या नारा है उनका? क्या नारा है?
Further, while speaking in Hojai district, the Prime Minister directly attacked Congress over infiltration.
साथियों, सत्ता के लिए कांग्रेस कुछ भी कर सकती है और असम को इसका बहुत नुकसान हुआ है। हमारे बोडो समाज की हुदुम पूजा और कोज राजवंशी समाज का बाथो, ये प्रकृति, संस्कृति और आस्था के तालमेल का शानदार उदाहरण है। बारपेटा का तो हमारे पवित्र सत्रों की भूमि भी कहा जाता है। श्रीमंत शंकर देव जी, माधव देव जी, दामोदर देव जी, हरिदेव जी, ऐसे गुरुओं की परंपरा पूजनीय है। ये हमारी आस्था है, लेकिन कांग्रेस ने तो हमारी आस्था को भी घुसपैठियों को सौंप दिया था। हमारे पवित्र सत्र की हजारों बीघा जमीन पर कांग्रेस ने घुसपैठियों को कब्जा करने दिया था।
The Prime Minister kicked off his Assam campaign with a rally in Barapeta. A huge crowd gathered to witness the Prime Minister and hear his speech. The Prime Minister took down the Congress for insulting the armed forces, stating that Congress preferred to side with Pakistan.
साथियों, यहां तो बहुत बड़ी संख्या में हमारे सैनिक परिवार भी रहते हैं। असम के वीरों ने देश के लिए अनेक बलिदान दिए, लेकिन कांग्रेस मोदी को नीचा दिखाने के लिए सेना के शौर्य को भी गाली देती है। सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक हो, एयर स्ट्राइक हो, हमने देखा है कि कांग्रेस ने हमेशा दुश्मनों के एजेंडे को ही हवा दी है। ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के दौरान भी हमारी सेनाओं ने पाकिस्तान को कुछ ही घंटों में घुटने टेकने पर मजबूर कर दिया था, लेकिन कांग्रेस ने वही गीत गाया जो पाकिस्तान ने लिखा था। जिसकी धुन पाकिस्तान ने तैयार की थी और जो पाकिस्तान को पसंद है। कांग्रेस नेताओं का ये पाकिस्तान कनेक्शन हमेशा देश पर भारी पड़ता है। साथियों, कांग्रेस ने हमारी फौज से कैसे विश्वासघात किया है, इसका एक उदाहरण वन रैंक वन पेंशन भी है। कांग्रेस ने मेरे फौजी भाइयों को दशकों तक ओआरओपी से वंचित रखा। कांग्रेस सिर्फ 500 करोड़ रुपए दिखाकर झूठ कहती थी कि ओआरओपी लागू करेगी। ये बीजेपी एनडीए सरकार है जिसने ओआरओपी का लाभ मेरे फौजी परिवारों को दिया।
The BJP eyes a hat-trick in the state, and as the sun sets tomorrow, the campaigning in the state will also come to a close as Assam goes to polls in 2 days on the 9th of April.
Now viewers, on to what's happening in the south. Now, while campaigning in Kerala ahead of the upcoming assembly polls, Home Minister Amit Shah stated that the accused in a Sabrimala gold smuggling case will be jailed within 2 months if the NDA forms the government in the state. He also promised the state's first aims within 2 years of assuming power. More details in this report. Take a look.
The BJP is going all guns blazing to ensure a historic swing victory in Kerala. Amit Shah concluded his 2-day Kerala visit by leading a roadshow in Alapura's Haripad constituency. The Home Minister also addressed a massive gathering near Thiruvananthapuram yesterday evening. Listen into what the Home Minister has guaranteed if the NDA comes to power in the state.
और यूडीएफ आती है तो सोलार घोटाला होता है, बार रिश्वत कांड होता है, पलारी वट्टम घोटाला होता है और दोनों एक दूसरे को कभी अरेस्ट नहीं करते। मैं केरलम की जनता को विश्वास देकर जाता हूं, एनडीए की सरकार बना दीजिए। मंदिर के सोने के सच्चे आरोपी को 2 माह में जेल की सलाखों के पीछे हम डाल देंगे।
Following this, Amit Shah launched a direct attack on the Congress and the Communist parties.
एलडीएफ और यूडीएफ दोहरे चरित्र वाली पार्टियां हैं। देश भर में तो कांग्रेस और कम्युनिस्ट एक साथ चुनाव लड़ते हैं, मगर केरल में एक साथ चुनाव नहीं लड़ते हैं, आमने सामने लड़ते हैं। देश भर में कांग्रेस और कम्युनिस्ट इलू इलू करते हैं और केरल में एक दूसरे का विरोध करते हैं।
He accused the LDF and the UDF of only filling their own pockets and ignoring the needs of the people. Earlier this morning, Amit Shah also celebrated the BJP's 47th Foundation Day. He led the main ceremony for the event at the party headquarters in Thiruvananthapuram. Shah began his 2-day visit with a massive roadshow in Kozhikode on Sunday. Shah is headed to Puducherry next, where PM Modi also held a roadshow and interacted with workers in the previous week.
All right, viewers, that's the latest we're picking up from the election-bound states, and we're inching now closer to the D-Day, that's May 4th. This is when the results come in. Until then, stay tuned for all the latest we're getting on the elections.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा,
13,000 placements last year. At Amity, we are committed to nurturing passionate, hardworking and proactive professionals.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट,
स्वाद बनाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और फरसान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे, केसरिया
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरी डे।
प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाए जीरा से MTH का जलजीरा जीरा से।
जीरा सिप, असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
MTH
3, 2, 1. Booster ignition. Artemis 2 now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
Okay, overboard dump coming up.
Actually, there is always a redundant chain of excretion systems available on the Artemis. Okay, it is not just the main chain, and it's a redundant chain is also available. And there is no way that the astronauts will be stuck because of the the excretion issues. And what they have reported now, even we were going through and seeing, it is something to do with.
See, definitely Assam should be infiltration free. It is the sentiment of Assamese people. It is the sentiment of Assamese people. Agitation for 6 years, Assam witnessed. 860 Assamese youth had been died. Not died, actually killed. So Assamese sentiment is Assam should be a infiltration free Assam. Assam should be a Guspetya free Assam. So we are working on that. We will work on that.
And as far as eviction drives are concerned, your Chief Minister and you have been also repeatedly saying that eviction drive will continue.
Yes, eviction drive will be continued. Illegal occupation will not be tolerated. 1.5 lakhs bigas, it means if you calculate in acre, it is almost 50,000 acre has been, we have bring back, right? We have brought, yeah, recovered. We have recovered all this land, 50,000 acres of land we have been recovered. But another 1 lakhs 50,000 acres of land has to be recovered. We are on to it. We'll do it.
So that is the target for the next.
That is the target. 5 lakhs biga. In Assamese we say biga. It means 1.5 lakhs acres of land will be recovered immediately, as early as possible.
Where does the opposition stand as far as these elections are concerned?
Opposition nowhere. Opposition. If you see Rahulji's meeting, if you see Priyanka's meeting, very limited limited amount of people were gathered. Rahul Gandhi ji did 2 meetings. 6,000-7,000 people were in both the meetings. Priyanka Gandhi ji did 3 meetings. In one meeting, she got 1,800 people, and 5,000 to other meetings. So they were nothing, I believe.
Join International Institute of Hotel Management. Call 983-10-50,000.
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे केसरिया से मन जोगी
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े। चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
3, 2, 1. Booster ignition. Artemis 2 now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
Okay, overboard dump coming up.
actually, there is always a redundant chain of excretion systems available on the arteries. Okay, it is not just the main chain, and it is a redundant chain is also available. And there is no way that the astronauts will be stuck because of the the excretion issues. And what they have reported now, even we were going through and seeing, it is something to do with the valve which is to operate for suction of the excretion, which looks to be needing attention. But the crew in Artemis, they are well trained to handle such type of situation. And also, in case if the main chain of the excretion system doesn't respond, there is always a way of redundant chain and the methodology for excretion. And I don't think it is a major issue, but I'm sure it will get sorted out. And of course, there is a redundant chain which can be conveniently operated.
Good luck. Godspeed, Artemis 2. Let's go.
And here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7. RS-25 engines. 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition. And liftoff. The crew of Artemis 2 now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
First time it was canceled in February 8th. After that March, we make all the plans, we have all the hype, and it was canceled again. And finally it's happening today. So we are going to celebrate a new milestone for everybody, not only for USA, for the whole planet, for the whole humanity.
Uranium extraction operation gone wrong. Multiple theories contradict Washington. Real reason for Trump's language. Debating tonight at 8 p.m.
Presenting by Zoho Business Software, trusted by 15 crore users. Co-powered by IIHM International Institute of Hotel Management.
Hi there, welcome back. We are building up to that big press conference planned by President Donald Trump along with his service chiefs at 10:30 p.m. India time. But then this is happening amidst a lot of speculation whether this is going to be an escalatory announcement or President Trump is going to announce a ceasefire as it is being talked about. We are going to look at both the scenarios in the backdrop of what has happened over the last 48 hours. Rakshita?
Right. In fact, the war of words is escalating in the build-up to this. This is what Trump has said. You can read it for yourself. And the replies that are coming in from Tehran is showing the tone, the sentiment right now. What's going to happen is something that remains a matter of great speculation. Viewers, we will get you a lowdown of all that has happened in the past 24 hours. But first, quick check of the headlines. Latest reports emerge that suggest Iran, US and mediators are close to a new 45-day, two-phase ceasefire deal. US and Iran received two-step peace proposal aimed at ending the ongoing hostilities as Trump warns Iran if it failed to agree to a deal, it will rain hell on Iran. Trump announces a media briefing along with joint military chiefs 10:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time tonight. Tehran rejects Trump's Hormuz deadline. Iranian sources say that they cannot agree to temporary ceasefire. In fact, the Foreign Ministry clearly rejects the proposal to open the strait for a temporary ceasefire. And Iranian Foreign Ministry says it cannot be ruled out that the Isfahan operation was a deception aimed at stealing uranium, but an operation that failed. While we'll talk about what could be happening tonight at that press conference, but let's take a look at the much talked about rescue operation, the so-called CSAR operation, the high-stakes covert operation as it's called now. It has revealed how the United States pulled off a rescue mission deep inside the Iranian territory. Now, according to CIA sources, now, there was an elaborate deception plan that was misleading Iranian forces with a false narrative, the downed weapons. And the weapons officer, in fact, had been taken out in a ground convoy. The question now that is being raised is that, was it really a rescue mission, Abhishek? Because what is being pointed out by experts, former CIA officers also, that was it something far more strategic? Even Iran now says that it cannot be ruled out that this could be something called Operation Uranium.
Yeah, seems so, because you do not carry C-130J Hercules aircraft just for evacuating one soldier, Rakshita, as it comes out when they took out Osama bin Laden. Just 2 Black Hawk helicopters had gone in, and now it seems that the Americans, while taking advantage of a situation which was adverse insofar as their pilot is concerned, also parallelly planned another operation. So they thought, while the entire focus of the enemy or the Iranians would be on countering the American ingress to evacuate and rescue the soldier, the air officer, they would parallelly carry out another operation which was, according to these Iranians, aimed at taking out the enriched uranium from Isfahan plant, and it's buried deep underground. President Trump himself has said that it's an impossible task, but it seems that the Americans used that only to camouflage their intentions, if you go by these reports. Now, these pictures are of the destruction of the 2 C-130J Hercules aircraft, and these are transport aircraft, and the American version is that they were destroyed on the ground because they had got stuck in the makeshift base, or the temporary base, air base they had made, and because those had got destroyed,
Yeah, absolutely. So the sheer scale of this operation, in fact, has led to these questions that this downed F-15E in Iran and the blowing up of 2 US aircraft have led to these theories. So was it a rescue or was it a decoy? Iran claims that operations were never a rescue. As we see, there were so many aircraft. Why multiple aircraft to, in fact, rescue one officer, one soldier? Donald Trump claimed that he does not care about uranium, but he has admitted that uranium is deeply buried in Iran. Yeah. So was it a hidden motive? That is the theory that is now surfacing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we have to wait till the press conference for the facts to really emerge, because it's a big one. President Trump himself, along with the service chiefs, and it's been building up to the 48-hour deadline that he had set in between, a very intemperate language used in one of the posts by President himself on the Iranians and the Strait. But the question is whether the Iranians are right on this, or the Americans. Did they really launch a uranium evacuation operation and kept it hush-hush because they thought that if they fail, they can tell the world that the only intention was to get the pilot out, and if they succeed, then they would have gone to the world saying, oh, wow, and it would have actually been a very big operation. Success had they got the uranium out. Interesting would be whether the Americans really admit to it, because even if you admit to the fact that they made an attempt, even that's a big one. And so we are building up to that. Hidden uranium was the motive behind the operation. And the fact that they could set up an airstrip and land aircrafts there, 5 or 6 or 7 aircraft there, it's a big one, Rakshita.
Absolutely. In fact, this is one of the most important points that will US admit to it or not, and what it does exactly admit to, that's also important. But let's just talk about once again, as it's been now more than a month that this war has been going on, and now we're close to maybe another turn. We have to wait and watch for the press conference, but this is the cost of war for United States. $42 billion spent in these 37 days, that is 1 month and a week, and in total, that is the estimate, Iranian reports cited, $42 billion. In talking about the first 6 days, $11 billion. Again, as per Iranian reports, US, of course, will not be talking about the losses. Pentagon now seeks $1 billion per day. There has been a demand for a rise in the budget also just 15 days around 15 days ago. And aircraft, talking about the aircraft destroyed, the attrition is $500 million. We talk about all the munitions here, talk about the aircraft here. The cost of the aircraft could be as high as $500 million. So we've seen F-15, we've seen F-16 as claimed by Iran earlier, and one F-35 also. So that is how the attrition of war, the economic attrition of war is being witnessed over here. And now, viewers, we are going to show you some ground reports also. There's destruction and devastation all across West Asia. Let's bring you this report from Israel's Ramat Gan. This is in Tel Aviv, one of the suburbs where Iranian missiles struck one of the business centers. And there have been a rubble that we understand rescue operations have been going on for hours now. My colleague Nick reports from Tel Aviv.
You can see this is the skyscraper. It's a huge one. You can see how huge this skyscraper, and it was damaged from a rocket more than a half year ago. And still you can see that this building is not safe. Nobody is working here. Although before that, thousands of people were coming here to the work, and actually the rocket hit this building just 1 hour before the work starting. It was about 7 in the morning. People are usually coming at 8 or 9 in the morning. You can see now we are inside of this skyscraper. It is still not safe to be here. And you can see how extensive is the damage here all around. This is the inside of the building. You can see here. I will try to go inside if it's possible. Yeah, you can see here, but there is no light. And this is the extensive damage. And this is just one skyscraper. You can see that this one also was damaged, and also those skyscrapers, and also the buildings that people are living on the other side of the street also were damaged. And this is just one ballistic missile of Iran, which is hit the ground here behind me. And you can see also here the buildings are still damaged where people are living. And this is just one rocket of Iran. You can see how massive is the destruction.
Как вы видите, этот спальный район Тель-Авива превратился в цель иранских ракет. И как вы видите, тут все разрушено, до сих пор очень много стекла сверху, поэтому опасно тут находиться. До сих пор тут идут работы. И как вы видите, тут все разрушено со всех сторон. И посмотрите громадную воронку от баллистической ракеты Ирана. Все тут разрушено в этом спальном районе Тель-Авива. Все здания полностью разрушены. И вот это здание также. Его будут сносить, скорее всего. И вот это то, что делает Иран. Вот так он целится в спальные районы Тель-Авива. Может быть, он целится в другие места, но сюда он попадает. И из-за того, что израильтяне вовремя все скрываются в бомбоубежищах, тут нету пострадавших. Но если бы вот эта ракета не упала бы тут, в дорогу, а попала бы в здание, даже люди, которые спрятались в бомбоубежищах внутри дома, не смогли бы выжить. В Израиле в некоторых домах внутри квартиры есть сильные комнаты, которые защищены, как бомбоубежище, но даже они не смогли бы устоять от такой ударной волны. Тут больше нельзя оставаться. Да, надо уходить отсюда. Ну, я вам попытался показать, что тут происходит. Вот это масштаб разрушений от одной баллистической ракеты Ирана.
All right, does it look like ceasefire? Because the bombings, the air strikes, the counter strikes, the drone attacks continue from both the sides. In fact, if you look at the pictures in Iran, they are devastating. But then Iran still has some wherewithal left to hit as far as Israel. In fact, earlier the IRGC had claimed, just a while back in fact, that they have hit USS Tripoli. No confirmation yet from the CENTCOM or the Central Command, but what is important is that there are no signs of ceasefire yet. Rakshita, there are talks that the press conference by President Trump tonight is actually about a ceasefire, maybe a 45-day ceasefire. There has been none in the last 10 days. You think it will happen next?
Well, it seems that Iran is not ready for it because it is said in as many words that we are not ready for a temporary ceasefire, that we will not open the Strait of Hormuz, we will not succumb to any pressure, is the word that is the words that are being used as far as Tehran is concerned. Now, this is a peace plan that is being now talked about, US-Iran peace plan that has been framed. Who is there? We don't know. Foreign mediators is what's being talked about. Two-tier approach has been planned. And 45 days is the key word, I would say, in this. Immediate ceasefire is put in place for at least 45 days. And the hostilities are ceased, and then there are talks that go on. So that is what comprehensive agreement follows. That is what we're talking about, the two-tier process. Trump's 48-hour ultimatum is also in place. He's losing it. We clearly can see with his choice of words when he writes that on Truth Social. Hormuz reopening is, of course, the biggest bone of contention. We see that the Iranians are saying that we're not going to open up the Strait of Hormuz for a temporary ceasefire because it will be return of war, Abhishek. But what does it really show as far as the deadline, this approach of Donald Trump to mount pressure, that he sends in some Marines, he sends in some ships, and then he tries that carrot and stick approach, aggressive language, threats, warnings, everything. But we see that Tehran is completely steadfast and is not budging at all, at least in the body language.
All right, Rakshita, it doesn't seem like that's really building up to ceasefire, going by what's there behind you and the kind of language that was used by President Trump against the Iranians and the Iranian response to it. Though it's been a bit of a meme fest, really, from the Iranian side, maybe showing that they're effectively running out of their missiles. But the fact of the matter is that's not the language you use when you are looking at a ceasefire. But still, you never know, because both the sides might be war-weary now for different reasons. President Trump, because he's staring at midterms, his ratings are falling, and he seems to be frustrated that it's not going anywhere. The Europeans are not interested, the Japs are not helping. And in the case of Iranians, obviously, with the kind of death and destruction that they have faced. We, in fact, have Nick going to be joining us in a while from now from Israel. And so if you say that the proof of the pudding is in its eating, Rakshita, and we look at last 10 days, those 10 days were of ceasefire, but there was none. Yep. So even if a ceasefire is agreed upon and announced, as is being talked about, then what happens? Are we looking at the possibility of that ceasefire also being practiced more in its breach than its practice? And that's something which we have to watch out for. For that, let's try to understand from Nick, Rakshita, whether the Israelis would be part of the ceasefire.
Absolutely. Nick is joining us from Israel right now. I think he's joining us from Tel Aviv right now. Yes, Ramat Gan in Tel Aviv. Nick, well, what are you picking up as far as this this press conference is concerned? What are you picking up from Israel? There is talk about this two-tier process. Foreign some foreign nations are involved, as far as the foreign mediators are involved in this peace process. What are you picking up? What is Israel's role over here? What are you listening?
Yeah, so Israel maybe will not be part of this peace deal. It can happen because the United States can agree with Iran, but Iran can continue to bombard Israel as they did via the proxies like Hezbollah for decades now. And that's why it can be really bad for Israel to be alone in this war against Iran. And you can see here behind me, if you want, just one place that was hit just now by Iranian ballistic missiles. This is in the center of Israel, in the city of Ramat Gan, and you can see how much damage just one rocket can cause to the Israeli cities. Here is the city of Ramat Gan. This is in the center. This is the prominent street with hundreds of people walking here all day long. There are a lot of popular shops here and coffee places and restaurants. And one of the rockets hit this building behind me, and you can see all the floor in the last floor, the third floor, is completely devastated, destroyed. And all of this building can also collapse. And the people that were inside, they saved their lives because they did the instructions of the Israeli army, did everything on time. They find the shelter after they get on their mobile phones the alert of the coming ballistic missile. And that's why there are just several not casualties, but people that were slightly injured, but no casualties because they were in shelters. But if people are not going to a shelter, you can see here behind me how huge is the damage just from one rocket. And this is the reality in Israel. You can see here behind me, the building is completely destroyed. Back to you.
The fresh attack you're saying, Nick, that means that, ahead of that ceasefire, we see that there is an escalation. At least Iran is trying to send out a message with these strikes as well, Abhishek.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Nick. In fact, Nick said as much that even if a ceasefire happens between United States and Iran, it might not happen between Iran and Israel. That seems to be the fact on the ground, sentiment on the ground. Thank you, Nick, for joining us. We, in fact, have two guests joining us live now from both from Tel Aviv. We have Noam Eyal and we have Major Defferman. And I would want to begin with the Major Pfefferman, and he's a former IDF major. Major Pfefferman, do you share the sentiment that Nick was expressing, which is that even if a ceasefire happens between the United States and Iran, it might not happen between Iran and Israel, and so the war might continue?
No, I don't. It's very hard for me to see a scenario in which Israel continues the campaign without full American support and coordination. Israel has even said that it's achieved almost, if not all, of its military goals. Of course, it's not Israel that's going to be at the front or even a key part of a diplomatic arrangement with Iran, not at this point. And so it's very hard for me to imagine a scenario that the United States, who is the kind of the lead on this military campaign, reaches any kind of diplomatic arrangement with Iran, and that doesn't include Israel ceasing its fire. Of course, should Iran continue firing missiles at Israel, then Israel will have to continue its strikes on Iran. But it's hard for me to see a scenario that doesn't stop the hostilities in the near term completely and just leaves Israel and Iran exchanging blows, with the United States kind of opting out. It's just very hard for me to imagine a scenario like that right now.
Right, I'll just go across to Noam Eyal as well. He's joining from Tel Aviv. Noam, what are you picking up as far as the speculation surrounding a possible ceasefire or some announcement by Donald Trump is concerned? Donald Trump, he has said that he has put up a fresh Hormuz ultimatum, and he also said that he's going to rain hell in Iran. Now, Israel is the first one to actually bear the brunt of whatever happens in here. So what are you picking up? What is the sentiment? Because as our reporter was telling us that there are more strikes that are being conducted in central Israel, in Tel Aviv.
Yes, it's been a very difficult day in Israel. Difficult 24 hours with some casualties, dead, relatively more impact sites in central cities around Israel relatively to previous days. However, I believe this barrage, if it I don't know. I don't know if it's more than usual or just intercepting problems on behalf of the IDF. But let's assume for a second the barrage is heavier. It probably has something to do with the assassination of the senior intelligence leader of the IRGC that Israel took out in the last 24 hours, and the Iranians confirmed. So could have something to do with that. Also with the rescue operation, of course. And when it comes to the ceasefire, Israel, the reports in Israel are that Israel is preparing for the possibility of a ceasefire. Anyway, it's part of the reports in Israel that is preparing for a possibility of a ceasefire by Saturday. It doesn't mean it will happen. That means Israel will probably try to make the most out of that until that time comes, when it comes to operational activity in Iran, trying to get as much more targets hit, including the Iranian regime internal Basij forces, for example.
All right. Right. All right. Many thanks, Noam and Major Dan Febman, for joining us on Republic. So, yes, Republic TV continues to build up to that speech, to that press conference. Whatever could be in Trump's mind, we cannot predict that, isn't it, Abhishek?
Well, one aspect that needs mention, Rakshita, is that the press conference is going to be a debriefing of sorts for the American citizens on what transpired in that operation in which the U.S. Air Force colonel was rescued. The details, you perhaps could have the colonel standing there with the president and the service chief. So that's going to be a big one. And I think the Americans can actually see in it a very daring act. Whether, based on that success, Trump can announce truce, that, okay, fine, we have recovered our man, there are no further losses, and that let's give peace a chance with whatever language President Trump chooses. That's going to be interesting. The uranium plot is something which the Iranians have alleged, and if a clarification comes in, because remember, it's a press conference, and earlier it was supposed to be in the Oval Office, it's been shifted to the White House press room, which means there was a lot of media interest, so they wanted to accommodate more people in Oval Office. They can have less number of people. It's going to be a big press conference. Questions would be thrown at the president and the service chief. So obviously the uranium plot question would be asked. The interesting thing would be, so far as the rest of the world is concerned, we are not concerned about what happens within the United States or between US and Iran, what happens to us. And for that, the war has to stop. So whether this peace, truce, ceasefire happens and President Trump again goes back to demanding a Nobel Prize is something I think everyone would be looking at.
Of course, we'll have to wait and watch, as will be at 10:30 p.m. Tonight, viewers, Indian Standard Time. So we will be building up to that and much more, viewers. At 7 p.m. first, we're going to bring you This Is Exclusive with my colleague, Shravan Sen. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मम्मा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरी राजा।
13,000 placements last year. At Amity, we are committed to nurturing passionate, hardworking and proactive professionals.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ।
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ, स्वाद आया? आया।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरी डे।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट,
स्वाद बनाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और परेशान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
3, 2, 1. Booster ignition. Artemis 2 now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
Okay, overboard dump coming up.
Actually, there is always a redundant chain of excretion systems available on the Artemis. Okay, it is not just the main chain, and it is a redundant chain is also available. And there is no way that the astronauts will be stuck because of the the excretion issues. And what they have reported now, even we were going through and seeing, it is something to do with the valve which is to operate for section of the excretion, which looks to be needing attention. But the crew in Artemis, they are well trained to handle such type of situation. And also, in case if
Join International Institute of Hotel Management. Call 983-10-50,000.
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे केसरिया से मन जोगी
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी।
प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाए जीरा से MTH का जलजीरा जीरा से।
जीरा सिर्फ असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
MTH थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद ये तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है, अरे मेरी राजा।
3, 2, 1. Booster ignition. Artemis 2 now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
Okay, overboard dump coming up.
Actually, there is always a redundant chain of excretion systems available.
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Hello and welcome. You're watching This is Exclusive with me, Shavin Sen. In the history of America, this perhaps has been one of the finest military operations that have been carried out. This is what the Americans say. But on the ground, it seems that there is a different picture that is basically emerging. Was it really to rescue one airman, or was it much more than that? Was it a litmus test for what many believe could be an attempt that was made by the American forces to extract uranium? Is that the case? Tonight on This is Exclusive, we go to Tehran, get you the latest, what's really happening there, how is it that the Iranians are really responding, and what's the counter reaction coming in from Israel? All this and much more on this edition of This is Exclusive. But up first, let me take you through the headlines we're tracking at this hour. Latest reports emerge suggesting Iran, US close to a new 45-day, two-phase ceasefire deal. US-Iran receive a two-step peace proposal aimed at ending the ongoing hostilities after Trump warns Iran that the US will hit power plants and bridges if Hormuz is not opened. US President Donald Trump announces a surprise media briefing along with joint military chiefs. Media briefing expected around 10:30 tonight. Tehran rejects Trump's Hormuz deadline. Iran says can't agree to temporary ceasefire, won't reopen Hormuz, and that's what Iranians say. Iranian Foreign Ministry says it cannot be ruled out that the Isfahan operation was a deception aimed at stealing uranium, but it failed. Well, if you go by the claims that have been made by the Americans, then it was certainly a difficult, a complex US rescue operation that was conducted deep inside Iran. Now turning into what is seen a full-blown information warfare. Washington calls it a high-risk, high-precision extraction of its stranded airmen. But Tehran is making sensational counterclaims. Iran now alleges this was a deception, an operation that was aimed at seizing enriched uranium essentially gone wrong, while adding that multiple US aircraft were brought down. So what really happened on the ground in Isfahan? And was this the place where the rescue operation was carried out in the first place? Why is this operation now at the center of a much bigger geopolitical narrative? Tonight on This Is Exclusive, we decode what is being seen as CIA's deception plan. But first, take a look at this detailed report.
It began with a strike in the skies over Iran. A US F-15 Strike Eagle hit by Iranian fire over Isfahan province. The two-man crew ejects, landing miles apart deep inside enemy territory. One of the pilots is located quickly, his position verified through a survival beacon. Within hours, US forces move in and extract him. But the second airman is missing, injured during ejection. He manages to move climbing a 2,000-meter ridge. He hides inside a mountain crevice, avoiding Iranian search teams. Using his survival kit, a radio beacon, limited supplies and training, he stays hidden, waiting for rescue. Then, under complete darkness, the rescue mission begins. Around 100 US Special Operations Forces, including elite Navy SEALs, are inserted into Iran. Transported by C-130 aircraft, they land in rugged terrain south of Tehran. Commandos move silently, trekking through mountainous landscape to reach the stranded airmen. But just as the extraction begins, the mission hits a major setback. Two C-130 transport aircraft suffer mechanical failure, according to media reports. With aircraft unable to take off, dozens of US commandos suddenly find themselves stranded deep inside Iran. A critical decision is made. More aircraft are called in, risking detection to complete the extraction. For hours, the team waits, exposed in hostile territory. And then Iranian forces close in. Black Hawk helicopters come under fire as they try to support the extraction. US forces respond, jamming communications and even striking roads to delay Iranian movement. A full-scale race against time. Finally, smaller aircraft are brought in, capable of landing on short makeshift strips. The airmen and commandos are evacuated in waves. But before leaving, the US takes no chances. According to reports, The stranded C-130 aircraft and additional helicopters are destroyed on the ground. But here's where the story takes a sharp turn. Iran claims this was never just a rescue, with Tehran now calling it a deception and escape mission, alleging the real aim was to seize highly enriched uranium from Isfahan. Iran also claims multiple US aircraft were destroyed, but these claims remain unverified and contradict US assertions. The truth still contested as both sides push competing narratives. And even as this battle of claims plays out, the war clock is ticking. Donald Trump escalating pressure on Iran, threatening to strike power plants, bridges and critical infrastructure. But Iran remains defiant, not ready to reopen Hormuz in exchange for a temporary ceasefire. Now all eyes are on Trump's address tonight. Will he escalate further or signal a shift towards a deal?
Well, the US rescue operation wasn't just about boots on the ground. It was also a battle of intelligence and perhaps deception. Before a single commando moved in, the CIA had already set the stage, misleading Iran, diverting search teams and buying crucial time for the stranded airmen. We're going to now take you through what is being seen as a deception plan that was hatched by the CIA. Now, by way of sources, this is what we have essentially picked up. This is what the Western media has largely been reporting about, that the CIA essentially developed a deception plan to keep Iranians away. Now, let me just elaborate a little bit on this. In fact, the moment Langley got to know that one of the airmen was basically left behind, that is, the pilot was already rescued, but the airman was left behind, that's when they essentially decided to devise a deception plan. They were supposed to, in fact, the Pentagon was supposed to release a statement of rescuing the pilot, but the moment they got to know that the airman wasn't rescued, they decided to do away with the plan of a release. That's when the CIA basically stepped in. They developed a deception plan. Let's move on. I'm going to tell you what the deception plan was. The idea was to hoodwink the Iranians with a false campaign, and the campaign was that the airman was also rescued and in fact was being taken out of the country, that too through a ground convoy. This was largely a decoy so that the Iranians do not continue with the search operation. The US campaign, as I mentioned, was about a weapons officer being taken out, that too inside through a ground convoy, and that would essentially put the Iranians in a jiffy. The other important aspect was that they wanted Iranians to shift their search operation because the place where it was suspected that the F-15E Strike Eagle had crashed, the governor of that place had already made a public statement asking the nomadic tribe to continue with their searches. So they were basically narrowing in and to get hold of the airmen. The airmen, in fact, evaded the Iranians for almost more than 24 hours. That's what the Pentagon has been indicating. In fact, we are given to understand that the airman hiked about 7,000 feet along the ridge line and hid in a crevice. Now, that's where what we are given to understand, the officer who was basically equipped with a beacon and communication device was sending in those messages. In fact, they were transmitting these messages, as I understand. And that is when the Pentagon basically devised this entire plan. Now, what really happened? But just when the mission seemed perhaps on track, it hit a major roadblock. A technical failure, a stranded aircraft, and a split-second decision that could have changed everything. Now, this, in fact, is the final twist that nearly derailed the entire operation. It turns out that they had C-130 transport aircraft. Nose gear of one of the aircraft got stuck, that too with the sandy dirt track that was basically a rescue airstrip. Now, there is a lot of mystery behind this rescue airstrip, which I'm going to come to you in a short while from now. Efforts were essentially being made to free the stuck wheels, but it turns out that for hours put together, they were unable to do so. This was the time when Israelis as well as the Americans were bombing that area in order to prevent the Iranians from coming in. The commandos thereafter called for 3 replacement aircraft, and it was only in the morning when in the 3 aircraft replacement aircraft they had taken in. It turns out that the American warplanes thereafter came back to that place and disabled the 2 C-130 aircraft and 4 MH-6 Special Operations helicopters. They were also bombed, so that they say that they did not want these aircraft to be in the hands of the Iranians. Now, that was the twist in the operation. Now, there is much more. Now, this, what you see right now, is essentially what the Americans have been saying as far as the operation is concerned. I'm going to come to the other big twist that has basically come in, the big questions that basically emerge, because it turns out that they had bombed the aircraft, that too, what we are given to understand, in a place called Isfahan. I'm going to tell you a little bit more in a short while from now, but let me quickly go across to our colleague Nick, who's joining us on this broadcast. Nick is joining us live from Ramat Gan. Nick, in fact, it turns out that after this operation that was basically carried out in Iran, Iranians thereafter struck multiple places, and today perhaps one of the worst hit areas have been in Iran. I beg your pardon, it was in Israel. Haifa, the coastal city, has been targeted. And in fact, the place that you are reporting from, Ramat Gan, is the other place that has been targeted. I want you to help us understand what's really happening around you. You could move around, tell us which are the areas that have been targeted.
That's right. Iran today continues to bombard Israel with ballistic missiles. And here's one of the sites that were impacted by just one part of Iranian ballistic missile with cluster munition, illegal munition. You can see behind me, the entire floor of this building was destroyed from this part of the rocket. And also the shops under and the parts all around were destroyed from this one part of the rocket. But fortunately, there are no casualties because Israelis are used to get alerts on their mobile phones about 12 minutes before actually the air sirens began. And when you have the air sirens, you have additional 1/2 minute before the interceptors of the Israeli air defense starting to intercept the ballistic missiles. And after that, you have another 10 minutes that all the parts of the rocket fall on the ground, either if they are intercepted or not. And here, it was just one part of this cluster munition. And you can see here behind me, still the security forces and the rescue mission continues. They are looking if there is something else that they can do to find maybe even animals that are still in the building. And also now they need to evaluate if this building can be strong enough to continue to live in, or it should be removed, destroyed. And the mess here all around is really big. And this is because the shockwave of each missile is huge. And this is just one part of the missile. When the whole missile is fall in one place, then the destruction can be of all the buildings around. And we saw in Haifa just yesterday that one big part of a rocket fell on a building and it killed, unfortunately, 4 people because they didn't go to the shelter. It was one family, 2 of the parents in elderly age were killed, and also their son and the wife. The son and the wife, they could go to the shelter, but they didn't want to leave their elderly alone, their parents, and that's why they all have been killed in the home that hit directly from this Iranian rocket. And you can see this is a completely civilian area, and this kind of neighborhoods all around Israel are attacked. Just from this one missile, ballistic missile, 30 different impact sites were all across the country. The spread of the cluster munition is tens of kilometers. And of course, it is not a precise hit. Iranians have no idea where they are targeting because the cluster munition is just spreading all around. And of course, it's hitting mostly civilian areas like here. And you can see the impact of this rocket. You can see here that still the works are going on. And this is the sad reality in Israel for more than 1 month. You can see now the worker here of the Ramat Gan municipality. This is in the center of Israel, is working to remove all the windows of this building. And After that, probably this building will be destroyed. This street is one of the most prominent streets in the center of Israel. There are a lot of coffee shops here and the restaurants and the shops, stores. People here all the time are walking all around. And just because Israelis are used to hide in shelters on time, we didn't here have any casualties. Otherwise, it could be a big here disaster because, as you can see, the impact is huge. Back to you.
Nick, I'll request you to stay on with us because we are putting the focus on the operation that was carried out inside Iran. Hamid is also joining us from Tehran. Hamid, I'm going to take our viewers through some of the details that we have and then bring you in, because this wasn't just a rescue. It was a full-scale military operation that was involving some of the most elite forces as well as advanced platforms in US arsenal, from special forces to combat helicopters and air support. Now, here's a look at the war machinery that powered this entire mission. 100 US Special Operation Forces deployed. In fact, US's Navy SEAL was also part of this entire operation, along with, of course, the CIA inputs. Can we move to the other? It is Navy SEAL team that basically led this entire operation on the ground. Thereafter, HH-60W Jolly Green 2 combat rescue helicopters were also used. A-10 Warthogs provided the air support. And MC-130 aircraft that was basically used for the insertion. And drones were basically targeted approaching convoys. Now, that was part of the war machinery. Now, this is what the Americans, in fact, this is what the Americans have been saying, that this was about getting the airmen back. But was that the case? Because there is a lot that perhaps does not really explain this entire operation. The very fact that American C-130 transport aircraft was actually bombed, and it was in Isfahan. And now I'm going to take you through some of the details, because Trump, in fact, has been eyeing for what is being called a daring mission to secure the 1,000 pounds of Iran's uranium. Iran is just a short step away from 90% enrichment levels, at about 60% currently. And the alarming situation is that the rescue airstrip was extremely close to Iran's most important nuclear site. In fact, not very far away from Natanz nuclear facility. In a more interesting note, now Iran has basically come out saying that the rescue operation was just a deception to steal its enriched uranium stockpile, but it completely failed. While adding that Iran downed the multiple US aircraft in the operation. Here's a closer look at Iran's nuclear infrastructure. What makes it such a critical flashpoint, and why is it that many are now raising questions about this entire theory of just a rescue operation? The reason could be Iran's nuclear stockpile. Iran essentially maintains about 972 pounds enriched uranium. That is 90% short. It is 90% enrichment levels, short a step away, close to levels that are basically needed for a high-yield military warhead. Now, they're very close to doing that. So that is the reason why you have had the Americans constantly talking about that Iranians perhaps cannot really have this. Now, that's what they are saying. Now, to understand how exactly this operation was carried out, let's move on. Now, to understand how sensitive this operation was, you'll perhaps need to have a look at this particular map that we're going to put out right now. This wasn't just a rescue deep inside Iran. It was unfolding dangerously close to some of Iran's most critical nuclear infrastructure, from the shoot-down point to the secret airstrip to the proximity of Iran's key enrichment hub. Every kilometer here matters. Now, take a look at this entire operation that was mapped out on the ground, and of course, some of the key areas. Now, I'm going to just tell you the key areas here. The nuclear research facilities. These are the three places where it is believed that Iran has its nuclear research facility: Bunab, Khondab, and Tehran. These are the three places where the nuclear research facilities are there. Let's take a look at the nuclear power plant, Bushehr. The power plant has been hit multiple times in the past as far as this operation is concerned. Let's take a look at the next. Uranium mines. They are basically based in Shagant and Bandar Abbas. These are the two places it is believed, as per the IAEA, that it is in these two places. Uranium conversion plant. Now, this is extremely important because in the past also, in the first round, you've had bunker busters, bombs that were used by the Americans to hit out at the conversion plant, uranium conversion plant in Isfahan. That's the uranium conversion plant. And then comes the uranium enrichment plant, that is in Natanz, and it is in Fordo. These are the two places where it is believed that the uranium enrichment plants are also there. Let's move on. The undeclared nuclear activities perhaps are in these two places, in Marivan and Varamin. These are again undeclared nuclear activities, again going by the IAEA. These are the two places. Now, let's move on to tell you why this operation has raised some questions. It's about this operation, the airstrip that we're going to see on your screens right now. F-15E Strike Eagle was downed in Isfahan. Now, the exact location, quite interesting, and Hamid is going to come in and join us and explain this to us, because the F-15E was shot down on 3rd of April in Dedasht, which is in Kogilyu province in southwestern Iran. In fact, the regional governor of this particular province was the one who issued a public bounty for the crew, and the distance essentially from the Iran's Persian Gulf coast to Dedasht is about 100 to 130 kilometers. The distance from Kuwait's Gulf Islands to Dedasht is about 250 kilometers. The C-130 in fact was destroyed in Isfahan, not very far away, 120 kilometers from Natanz. Two airmen who were basically ejected separately, so it's a different location altogether. Rescue staging airstrip set up by US forces is 30 miles from Isfahan. Rescue airstrip is close to Iran's most important nuclear facility. Natanz is located about 120 kilometers northeast of Isfahan, and it is about 75 miles, again, from the rescue operation site. I'm going to stay with these images, but let me also bring in Hamid right now, who's joining us right now from Tehran. Ahmed, Iranians have made it very clear that, the crash takes place in Dedasht, as I understand, which is far away from where the rescue operation is being carried out. In fact, the pictures that have been put out by the Iranian television Press TV of this video that I'm showing right now, this happens in Isfahan. Help us understand, where was the rescue operation carried out? The airstrip that comes into the picture, where was this airstrip? How did the Americans build that airstrip to begin with?
How are you doing? It's like, I'm very glad to be talking to you and your esteemed outlet to begin with. I would like to say that the facility with which Western media outlets and officials tend to explain their, for example, building a strip upon the Iranian soil, just like that, just like it's a walk in the park. It's it's believable from the Western standpoint and the Western vantage point, because it is very prone to propagandizing and painting a very believable and plausible image of the so-called American superiority over the Iranian airspace. I wonder how it is possible for America or the Israeli regime to have air superiority over the Iranian airspace, and all of a sudden all these aircraft go down. Do you see what I mean? It's like it was probably Donald Trump or Benjamin Netanyahu trying to
what I really want to know, Hamid, Hamid, sorry to interrupt you, because we are a little sort of confused here. How is it possible that the rescue airstrip, the rescue airstrip, which is not very far away from your nuclear enrichment plants? So was it just about the rescue operation? Because it seems the aircrafts are downed in a different location, the rescue is happening at a different location, and there is an airstrip which is also, again, not very far away from two very important locations. One is Natanz and the other is Isfahan. So who's going to really believe the American theory?
I don't understand that they were actually able to build a strip just like that. I believe that because I've seen videos of that. I've seen the aerial bombings of the area surrounding the supposed location of the airman, who was about to be rescued. Probably, the aggressor, the hostile aircraft were trying to secure the area. I don't think either the United States or the Israeli regime has that sort of command over the Iranian airspace. And to say that it was deception, it was to distract Iranians, to steal the uraniums, is too facile again. It's like it's believable on paper. But I don't think that was the case. It's like, is it like if, for example, the airman was in Dehdash in Kokili and Boyar Ahmad province in Iran, which I believe he was there. If he was there and the United States was carrying out this operation, is it like all the Iranian forces, the air power, the firepower was going to be concentrated there to, for example, to come in the way of the American operations? It's like were the Iranians all looking away at the airman and his location? I don't think that's possible. It's like the Iranian forces, the Iranian military is all over the place. Is it like, for example, if the enriched uranium, if the uranium that the United States says it is after, all right, if it is in Natanz or Isfahan, is it like all the people protecting those places or the purported location of that uranium, are they all going to go away and, for example, concentrate in the area where the United States was carrying out the operation? I don't think that was possible. Even if it was a deception, it's like it is. Who are you deceiving? It's like all the Iranian military, all the Iranian servicemen are going to go away from the sites that they are supposed to guard the uranium, which the United States claims there is, and, for example, concentrate in Dehdash and Kokli and Boyar Ahmad to, for example, to scuttle the United States operation. I don't think that is going to happen. I don't think that was a deception. I think the operation was concentrated upon rescuing that airman.
Well, thank you very much.
And can I add something else, please?
Ahmed, I'm sorry I'm running short of time right now, but I'll bring you back. And getting the voice from Tehran is quite important and quite crucial at this stage. But I'm sorry, Hamid, I'm really running short of time right now. But thank you very much for joining us on this broadcast. Well, that's all that we could pack in this edition of This Is Exclusive. On the other side, news and updates from across the country.
Co-powered by Century Ply Club Prime. Raho befikar.
Our pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
13,000 placements last year. At Amity, we are committed to nurturing passionate, hardworking and proactive professionals.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े
चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट
Character, the taste of success.
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला
Three, 2, 1. Booster ignition. Artemis 2 now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
Okay, overboard dump coming up.
Actually, there is always a redundant chain of excretion systems available on the Artemis. Okay, it is not just the main chain, and it's a redundant chain is also available. And there is no way that the astronauts will be stuck because of the the excretion issues. And what they have reported now, even we were going through and seeing, it is something to do with the valve which is to operate for suction of the excretion which looks to be needing attention. But the crew in Artemis, they are well trained to handle such type of situation. And also, in case if the main chain of the execution system doesn't respond, there is always a way of redundant chain and the methodology for execution. And I don't think it is a major issue, but I'm sure it will get sorted out. And of course, there is a redundant chain which can be conveniently operated.
Good luck. Godspeed, Artemis 2. Let's go.
And here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7. RS-25 engines. 4, 3, 2.
With you viewers. Now tensions in West Asia continue to escalate as Iran has rejected the ceasefire proposal backed by Donald Trump, and even as Washington steps up pressure, Tehran remains defiant, raising concerns of further escalations. Here's more.
A major diplomatic push is now underway to end the Iran war. A ceasefire plan has been shared with both the United States and Iran. The proposal calls for an immediate ceasefire followed by negotiations for a long-term peace deal. Reports say the first step could be a memorandum of understanding to be finalized through back channels. A separate track also talks about a 45-day ceasefire window to create space for broader talks. But the biggest sticking point remains the Strait of Hormuz. The plan links a ceasefire to reopen this crucial global oil route currently disrupted by the war. Any final deal could also include sanctions relief, release of frozen assets, and limits on Iran's nuclear program. Despite the intense diplomatic push, Iran has not yet agreed to the proposal. Tehran has made it clear it will not accept pressure or deadlines in deciding its response. Iran also says that they don't want a ceasefire but a permanent solution to the war. All this comes even as the war continues to escalate with thousands dead and global energy markets on edge. The bigger question now, will diplomacy prevail or will the deadline trigger an even bigger escalation?
So in this war, the latest theory circulating right now on the internet is that the recent high-profile rescue and search operation by the United States was not just an operation that was for saving that airman. But according to claims, what was publicly being presented as a CSAR, that is Combat Search and Rescue Operation, could be much more. This could be a covert operation, Operation Uranium. In fact, Iran also goes on to allege that this was an attempt to steal uranium, but the Americans failed at it. That's what Iran is saying. More in this report.
A US strike Eagle shot down deep inside Iran, 2 crew members forced to eject. The pilot rescued within hours, but the second crew member trapped in hostile territory for nearly 48 hours. What followed? A massive high-risk US operation ending with both airmen evacuated. But that's not where the story ends. A wave of conspiracies claiming this war was not just a rescue mission.
The twist is this, that the rescue operation that has been carried out and the airman who was basically taken out from Iran as part of what is being seen and being touted as one of the most daring operations to have been carried out by the US Special Forces. But was it only with the aim of bringing back the airman? or was it much more than that? Because if you go by the Iranians, they say that the two aircraft that have been downed, or rather they were set ablaze, bombed rather, that was a C-130 aircraft. And not just that, there are 4 MH-60 helicopters that were also bombed by the Americans. And that, the Iranians say, was not close to the rescue operation site. In fact, it was away from that.
Iran alleges that it was a cover for a secret US plan to extract Iran's highly enriched uranium. While some reports confirm Washington has been considering a high-risk ground operation to seize Iran's enriched uranium stockpile. There has been no official comment from the US on the claim, but it maintains it was a daring rescue mission, nothing more.
Now, viewers, Iran's IRGC claimed today that it targeted a US amphibious assault ship, LHA-7, that is USS Tripoli is that kind of a ship, that is the LHA-7. Now, it has claimed that this targeting of the Tripoli forced the vessel to withdraw back into southern part of the Indian Ocean. It's southern part of Indian Ocean. Now, according to the statement released by the official media, Iran's IRGC asserts that it launched a missile attack on the USS Tripoli, that's the American amphibious assault ship, that forced it to retreat. Now, viewers, it was, as per the IRGC, a direct strike on a significant warship. Now, this warship, remember, was deployed with a high number of Marines, high number of American security personnel on board when it was targeted by a wave of fast missile fire. In fact, IRGC says that it was part of a bigger operation with airstrikes and naval operations also involved in here. Remember, the USS Tripoli was very much important right at the beginning of this month. Its movement was being tracked as to when the ground operation was being hinted at, with more than 3,000 Marines on board. That is what is reported on the Tripoli. And there could be, of course, the strike aircraft and much more. It's a very, very important warship, one of the largest aircraft carriers, that is USS Tripoli. If this is targeted, that's a big escalation, or one would say a big message being sent out from Iran to US. Here's more.
Massive escalation in the Iran war hours before Trump speaks. Iran's IRGC claims striking USS Tripoli carrying ground troops. IRGC claims striking USS Tripoli carrying 3,500 Marines and sailor. So far, there has been no confirmation of an official US response to the claim or whether any damage was sustained. Iran says its naval and aerospace forces had carried out strikes on US and Israeli command, operational, logistical, and military industrial infrastructure. In its operation, IRGC naval forces struck an Israeli-linked container ship identified as SDN-7 with a cruise missile, causing heavy damage and a large fire. It added that Iranian ballistic missiles had hit targets in northern and southern Tel Aviv, as well as strategic sites in Haifa. In counter-strike, Israel says it had carried out powerful strike on Iran's largest petrochemical facility in Asluya.
Meanwhile, Iran launched a new wave of missiles at central Israel as well early today, injuring at least one person. And there was a search operation also going on as there were reported explosions across Tel Aviv during attempts to intercept the missiles. And in fact, there were blasts also heard over East Jerusalem. According to reports, Iran launched at least 10 missiles carrying cluster warheads in 3 attacks targeting Tel Aviv and parts of central Israel, with shrapnel and missile fragments all falling in eastern areas of the city. Republic TV has filed this ground report from the affected site. Take a look.
You can see this is the skyscraper. It's a huge one. You can see how huge this skyscraper, and it was damaged from a rocket more than a half year ago. And still, you can see that this building is not safe. Nobody is working here. Although before that, thousands of people were coming here to the work, and actually the rocket hit this building just 1 hour before the work starting. It was about 7 in the morning. People are usually coming at 8 or 9 in the morning. You can see now we are inside of this skyscraper. It is still not safe to be here. And you can see how extensive is the damage here all around. This is the inside of the building. You can see here. I will try to go inside if it's possible. Yeah, you can see here, but there is no light. And this is the extensive damage. And this is just one skyscraper. You can see that this one also was damaged, and also those skyscrapers, and also the buildings that people are living on the other side of the street also were damaged. And this is just one ballistic missile of Iran, which is hit the ground here behind me. And you can see also here the buildings are still damaged where people are living. And this is just one rocket of Iran. You can see how massive is the destruction.
Iranian ballistic missile with a cluster munition, illegal ammunition, hit this neighborhood at Tel Aviv in the center of the city. You can see this is a residential area, and here was a huge blast. One part of the ballistic rocket hit the road here, and it caused a lot of damage to all the neighboring buildings here all around, as you can see. And also some of the cars were torn apart, and this is the extensive damage that just one Iranian rocket making.
This neighborhood in the center of Tel Aviv was hit by a ballistic rocket of Iran with illegal cluster munition. Here there is a huge hole inside the road, but it was a lot of fortune that the rocket hit the road and not the building itself. Otherwise, it could be a big tragedy. There are about 6 casualties in light condition because everybody on time went to the shelter, and still it is not safe to be here. We are asked to move because it's not so safe to be here. And as you can see, the work here still continues. And this is not a safe place yet, and that's why we need to move. But you can see how Iranians are targeting a civilian population, civilian positions. Как вы видите, этот спальный район Тель-Авива превратился в цель иранских ракет. И как вы видите, тут все разрушено, до сих пор очень много стекла сверху, поэтому опасно тут находиться. До сих пор тут идут работы. И как вы видите, тут все разрушено со всех сторон. И посмотрите громадную воронку от баллистической ракеты Ирана. Все тут разрушено в этом спальном районе Тель-Авива. Все здания полностью разрушены. И вот это здание также. Его будут сносить, скорее всего. И вот это то, что делает Иран. Вот так он целится в спальные районы Тель-Авива. Может быть, он целится в другие места, но сюда он попадает. И из-за того, что израильтяне вовремя все скрываются в бомбоубежищах, тут нету пострадавших. Ну, если бы вот эта ракета не упала бы тут, в дорогу, а попала бы в здание, даже люди, которые спрятались в бомбоубежищах внутри дома, не смогли бы выжить. В Израиле в некоторых домах внутри квартиры есть сильные комнаты, которые защищены, как бомбоубежища, но даже они не смогли бы устоять от такой ударной волны. Тут больше нельзя оставаться. Да, надо уходить отсюда. Ну, я вам попытался показать, что тут происходит. Вот это масштаб разрушений от одной баллистической ракеты Ирана. Here is one of the places in the center of Israel that the Iranian rocket hit. This is Ramat Gan, and you can see the impact of just one rocket. We need to move a little bit because it's not safe to be here right now. We need to move because it's not safe, but you can see from here, this is the extensive damage just from one Iranian rocket. You can see the damage. The whole floor of the building was completely destroyed, and there is no way to survive this kind of attack. We need to move because it's not safe to be here. But you can see this is again where Iran targeting. They are targeting civilians, as you can see here. This is a civilian area, one of the most popular places in Israel, in Ramat Gan. It's a main street, prominent street of Ramat Gan. A lot of people are coming here every day to the coffees, to the bars, to the shops, and it became one of the targets of this rocket.
So viewers, with these strikes, exchange of fire, we can only understand that the tensions are not going to die down, and it's not really a conducive environment for a ceasefire. Iran, clearly you can see the signaling also with those strikes that it has rejected the ceasefire proposal that is backed by Donald Trump, that there have been some proposal that has been prepared by the help of some foreign mediators, but Tehran has remained defiant, and it has it's only raised concerns about the escalation. Of course, all eyes will be on what Donald Trump announces tonight at 10:30 p.m. But what Iran is saying is that it's not ready for a temporary ceasefire. All right, viewers, and a massive security breach was reported from Delhi Assembly today as a car crashed inside the barriers through the gate number 2. That was a VIP entry. And also, that man threw ink at the Assembly Speaker's car. He actually put a bouquet at the porch as well, and he managed to escape. He managed to flee. This incident occurred in the afternoon, and witnesses report that the car drove right into the building premises, circling around for a moment, and then sped off after vandalizing Vijayendra Gupta's car. And the driver broke the iron gates of the premises and also kept a flower bouquet, and it has been confirmed by the officials that there were no explosives or any other dangerous substance in the bouquet, but a high-level committee, of course, has been formed to ascertain the motive behind this incident. It's a massive security breach in a very, very protected area, viewers. Here's the report. We'll leave you with this report, and we'll be right back with the debate with Arnab Goswami at 8 p.m.
A major security breach reported at Delhi Assembly today. A masked man driving a car broke through VIP gate of the Delhi Assembly premises.
3 people have been arrested in this security breach case which took place at 2 p.m. in the afternoon in the Delhi Vidhan Sabha, where a white colored Tata Sierra barged from gate number 2, which is the VIP gate, and it broke the gate, and along with that it also broke the barricade placed at that gate, and they entered this premises and put a flower bouquet here itself outside the office of the Delhi Vidhan Sabha Speaker Vijendra Gupta. Currently we are present outside his office, and as you can see, this is the office of the Speaker Vijendra Gupta, and the bouquet was placed in its porch itself. This is the major security breach which took place, and now the Delhi police have arrested 3 people in connection with this case, along with seizing the car which entered into this premises.
Co-powered by Century Ply Club Prime. Raho befikar.
Join International Institute of Hotel Management. Call 983-10-50,000.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद ये ही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा। सबका राजा प्योर मसाला।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ।
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ स्वाद आया? आया।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
3, 2, 1. Booster ignition. Artemis 2 now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
Okay, overboard dump coming up.
Actually, there is always a redundant chain of excretion systems available on the Artemis. Okay, it is not just the main chain, and it is a redundant chain is also available. And there is no way that the astronauts will be stuck because of the the excretion issues. And what they have reported now, even we were going through and seeing, it is something to do with the valve which is to operate for section of the excretion, which looks to be needing attention. But the crew in Artemis, they are well trained to handle such.
Uranium extraction operation gone wrong. Multiple theories contradict Washington. Real reason for Trump's language. Debating tonight at 8 p.m.
Presenting by Zoho Business Software, trusted by 15 crore users. Co-powered by IIHM International Institute of Hotel Management. Co-powered by Century Ply Club Prime. Raho befikar.
Our pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
13,000 placements last year. At Amity, we are committed to nurturing passionate, hardworking and proactive professionals.
प्यास बुझाए, ठंडक लाए, सबको भाए जीरा से। MTH का जलजीरा जीरा से।
जीरा से असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
MTH।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो। मतवारा हुआ रे, केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट,
स्वाद बढ़ाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और फरसान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
केसरिया से मन जोगी।
Big build up to Trump's Iran speech. Will they call ceasefire tonight? "45-day ceasefire or complete ceasefire?" Debating tonight at 9 p.m.
Presented by Amity University, ranked amongst the top 3% universities globally. Powered by RP Sanjeev Goenka Group, growing legacies since 1820. Co-powered by Muthoot Finance Gold Loan. Sona kya nahi kar sakta. TVS iQube, India's favorite family EV. Co-powered by Century Ply Club Prime. Raho befikar.
Join International Institute of Hotel Management. Call 983-10-50,000.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है, अरे मेरे राजा। सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
Character, the taste of success.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ।
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े। चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरी डे।
Three, 2, 1. Booster ignition. Artemis 2 now bound for the.
Uranium extraction operation gone wrong. Multiple theories contradict Washington. Real reason for Trump's language. Debating tonight at 8 p.m.
Presenting by Zoho Business Software, trusted by 15 crore users. Co-powered by IIHM International Institute of Hotel Management.
Big build up to Trump's Iran speech. Will they call ceasefire tonight? "45-day ceasefire or complete ceasefire?" Debating tonight at 9 p.m.
Presented by Amity University, ranked amongst the top 3% universities globally. Powered by RP Sanjeev Goenka Group, growing legacies since 1820. Co-powered by Muthoot Finance Gold Loan. Sona kya nahi kar sakta. TVS iQube, India's favorite family EV.
Uranium extraction operation gone wrong. Multiple theories contradict Washington. Real reason reason for Trump's language. Debating tonight at 8 p.m.
Presenting by Zoho Business Software, trusted by 15 crore users. Co-powered by IIHM International Institute of Hotel Management.
Big build-up to Trump's Iran speech. Will they call ceasefire tonight? "45-day ceasefire or complete ceasefire." Debating tonight at 9 p.m.
Presented by Amity University, ranked amongst the top 3% universities globally. Powered by RP Sanjeev Goenka Group, growing legacies since 1820. Co-powered by Muthoot Finance Gold Loan, Sona Kya Nahi Kar Sakta. TVS iQube, India's favorite family EV.
Uranium extraction operation gone wrong. Multiple theories contradict Washington. Real reason for Trump's language. Debating tonight at 8 p.m.
Presenting by Zoho Business Software, trusted by 15 crore users. Co-powered by IIHM International Institute of Hotel Management.
Big build-up to Trump's Iran speech. Will they call ceasefire tonight? "45-day ceasefire or complete ceasefire." Debating tonight at 9 p.m.
Presented by Amity University, ranked amongst the top 3% universities globally. Powered by RP Sanjeev Goenka Group, growing legacies since...
From the Republic Media Network headquarters, it's time for Arnab Goswami on The Debate. Arnab Goswami on The Debate.
On the show tonight, the real story about what happened and what led to the complete destruction of many Air Force equipment, helicopters and transport aircraft. Why the American aircraft were completely destroyed by Iran. And at 9 o'clock tonight, I come to the main point just ahead of Trump's possible announcement tonight. Some people say he'll announce a ceasefire, but we don't know. But tonight I'm going to be talking about his state of mind, about whether Trump has gone totally crazy as of now. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there is considerable confusion about what happened and what the truth is about what happened between the 3rd and the 4th, Friday and Saturday, which led to, first, the loss of an F-15E aircraft of the American Air Force, 2, the ejection of the pilot, then what the Americans have described as a absolute daredevilry involved in rescuing the American pilot by a group of US Special Forces who rescued him from the ground. And then this was played up by Donald Trump as saying that this shows how brave the American forces are, and this shows the kind of effort that the Americans put in to rescue one weapon system officer. The American claim being that hundreds of special forces were sent in and bravely
they rescued one of their own crew instead of leaving him behind. So this was positioned by Trump as a huge success, and Netanyahu went and started congratulating him. But was this the real story? If you ask me personally, ladies and gentlemen, the facts just do not add up. Because on the one side, I'm seeing these stories of bravery, and on the other, I'm seeing this. Visuals of a catastrophe that has just hit the American Air Force. Visuals of huge planes, C-130 Hercules planes, destroyed, lying on the ground. Visuals of planes falling off the sky. And on the ground, MC-130 huge transport aircraft, which are used in covert operations, completely destroyed. Visuals of Apache helicopters being fired upon, but most importantly, visuals of rubble, visuals of completely destroyed US Air Force planes, visuals of MH-6, what is called Little Bird helicopters. The Americans say that they destroyed their own planes, they destroyed their own helicopters, but somehow I don't believe it. Why would the Americans destroy their own helicopters, their own transport planes? And why would they destroy these helicopters and these planes in a place very, very close, just 25 kilometers away from the uranium site of Isfahan? Now, the Americans have their own story. They say that they had taken over this area. They were running their own airstrip, claiming they had built some kind of a temporary Air Force base out of a little-known airstrip that is in near Isfahan, and that they decided to destroy their own planes for their own reasons, rather than leave them behind. It's like saying one of these planes had a technical trouble, it was not airworthy, and then they decided to destroy these planes. But it does not add up, ladies and gentlemen. It does not seem anything to do with the so-called rescue of the officer that it's being claimed to be, because this officer was rescued 300 to 400 kilometers away in a completely different place in central Iran called Dehdast. Now, if the officer had ejected and was rescued 300, 400 kilometers away, then why was such a large stockpile of American aircraft, military equipment, and helicopters, a whole long list of military hardware, which includes, let me just read out, which includes C-130 planes, MH-16 helicopters, A-10 air support, armed drones. Why was, if you wanted to rescue one pilot who had been brought down with his F-15E Strike Eagle fighter plane, why would you, in the process of destroying that one pilot, completely obliterate 2 C-130 aircraft, 4 UH-60 Black Hawk helicopters, one A-10 Warthog attack aircraft, 2 Little Bird helicopters, 2 MQ-9 Reaper drones? Why would you destroy all of these and blow them up and then say we blew them up ourselves? It makes no sense, ladies and gentlemen. This is wreckage. Why would America destroy their own planes and helicopters on Iranian territory? No wonder. No wonder, ladies and gentlemen, the Iranians are beginning to make fun of the Americans and said that the US has suffered a humiliating defeat. The enemy's flying objects were destroyed. Ladies and gentlemen, my view is that there is one possibility, and that possibility is that Trump wanted some kind of a victory. So he wanted to carry out one act of daredevilry, send out hundreds of special forces to try and bring back some enriched uranium. When that was not possible, they tried to get out of that place, and that's when all their equipment was blown up. It could also be, ladies and gentlemen, that the Americans, when 300 miles inside Iran, near that whole nuclear zone of Isfahan, Qum, Natanz, which is the sensitive zone of Iran with all their nuclear facilities close by, and they wanted to carry out an extrication of nuclear equipment, but they couldn't do it, and they actually ended up facing a humiliating defeat with so much military hardware being destroyed. This also explains the kind of language which Trump used after that. And you will notice, and this is most unfortunate, that he has used the F word, he has used the B word, and he has called the Iranians crazy, and he's threatened to destroy America once again and stone it back, blow it up, obliterate it back to the Stone Age. And that comment of his for 24 hours back has surprised and shocked people. What I'm saying to you tonight is, ladies and gentlemen, Trump is lying. He's making up this whole story, this entire terrible story of some great military operation to rescue one pilot. It could have been a rescue operation, but that does not explain what happened to the destruction of American planes, very expensive planes, transport aircraft, fighter jets and helicopters 300 kilometers away. My own guess is over the weekend, Trump has had a huge, massive military loss. And this comes at a time when he's already a bag of nerves. He started sacking his army chief. He's on the verge of sacking a lot of other people. He's going to be sacking his director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. He's going to be sacking Kash Patel, the completely ironic and moronic FBI chief. So he is a person who's a bag of nerves. He's losing it. He's using terrible language. And his press conference is at 10:30 p.m. tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, on my debate this evening, I will go into a deep analysis, not as a build-up to Trump's speech, about why what happened over the weekend was a case of American military extraction operations that went wrong, not which went right, which went completely wrong. I will also try and ask the more basic question the whole world is asking. When there are so many things which are obviously untruths, which are falsehoods, what is the American media doing? What are the American politicians doing? Where are the statesmen and intellectuals of America? Why are they not asking the questions that we are? Let's debate.
The biggest warplanes flying low over Iran, hours after an American F-15E was shot from the skies on Friday. Choppers were involved, indicating a search and rescue. These defining videos of tribesmen and local police shooting at choppers indicated the desperation of America. The risk taken, so much that videos captured showed US Black Hawks being shot from the skies. The Americans told the world they had pulled off the inevitable and carried out one of the greatest rescue operations in known military history. An operation that involved over 15 to 20 aircraft. Or that's what they want us to believe. Donald Trump told the world that his forces brought the last man alive.
Congratulations, President Trump. All Israelis rejoice in the incredible rescue of a brave American pilot by America's dauntless warriors. This rescue operation reinforces a sacred principle. No one is left behind. Israelis and I, we know what a bold decision you took. President Trump, Donald, my dear friend, once again, your decisive leadership brought another great victory to America.
But there are questions. The location where the pilot was rescued was at least 200 kilometers from this graveyard for American planes. In this video, American aircraft, including C-130 Hercules, seen charred. With it, several choppers. Question is, what were they doing there days before the rescue? Is it possible that the planes were there for something else? Maybe to extract uranium. The Iranians say that is the real story and that the rescue was just a decoy.
این که احتمال دارد این یک عملیات فریب برای دزدیدن اورانیوم غنی شده بوده باشه به هیچ عنوان نباید نادیده گرفت. اما عرض کردم آنچه که مشخص است نتیجه این عملیات چیزی نبود جز تبس دو. 12 planes destroyed or damaged to save just one pilot.
200 kilometers apart, destroyed close to a nuclear facility. Was the rescue operation of a pilot a cover-up for a uranium extraction gone wrong?
Personally, to me, nothing is making sense anymore. We have a Trump media briefing happening in 2 hours and 12 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, as the world with bated breath waits to see what next Trump has to say. My only hope is he doesn't use the F word in the press conference. He doesn't use the B word. He learns to talk properly. He seems to be suffering from all kinds of things. Some people are talking about his mental balance. A lot of people have said that he suffers psychological problems, that he has, some people have suggested some possible terrible diseases he's going through mentally. Some people have said that his cognitive abilities have gone down. He has had 2 cognitive tests that psychologists have done on him as a sitting US president, and combined with the kind of language that he's using, the completely unhinged behavior. But that I will reserve, ladies and gentlemen, for 9 o'clock. So if you want to understand Trump's mind, what he's going through possibly, and why he's behaving like this, you can join me at 9. For now, this whole military operation, which raises a lot of questions as well. General Bakshi, good evening. Tom Cooper, he's a great military expert from Austria, good evening. Tatiana Kukareva from Moscow, good evening. Mark Kankian from Virginia, so he's a senior advisor in Defense and Security Department at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Good evening. I have with me also Eric Lemhulk, and I have with me Saurabh Shukla as well. So I'm grateful that all of you have joined us, and I first want to ask you, General Bakshi, that I am not able to fathom that if this was about rescuing an American pilot, then what has happened to the other stuff? Why do we see these pictures, which were seen on the ground? If I can run them full frame once again. Ladies and gentlemen, there are 2 C-130 aircraft completely destroyed, blown to bits. There is 4 UH-60 Black Hawk helicopters completely blown to bits. There is 1 A-10 Warthog attack aircraft, very expensive plane. There are 2 Little Bird helicopters. There are 2 MQ-9 Reaper drones. It's like a mangled, about a mile of mangled metal, which means they were really deliberately destroyed. It was not a crash. If they were blown up, the Iranians say they blew them up. The Americans say, I don't have the name. What is this? Is this an extraction operation? General Bakshi, can I have your thoughts, please, initially, on what really happened?
Thank you. Thank you, Arnab. Arnab, this weekend, Saturday, Sunday, we were surprised, intensely surprised to see Donald Trump go off the television screens. There is nothing he loves more than going off the television, being on the television screen, holding the world enthralled with his pearls of wisdom.
Yeah.
There was something cooking. We could guess that from his absence from the TV screen.
At 8:20 was.
And that something cooking was this operation. At 8:20. This operation was ostensibly to rescue 1 downed pilot. Do you spend $2 billion worth to rescue 1 pilot? Even the United States Air Force does not have that luxury, right? They are the biggest, greatest Air Force in the world, but they don't have that luxury. Like you said, 1 F-15 destroyed, that is worth $80 billion. 1 A-10 Warthog, $50 million. They have 2 C-130 MJs modified for combat commando missions, $300 million, 2 Black Hawks, 2 Little Bird helicopters. My God, Arnab, that is, and all of them, as you very rightly pointed out, where have they been destroyed? They are destroyed close to Iran. Where was that pilot? 200 kilometers the other way.
300 kilometers away.
So, quite obviously, the pilot was a cover. The pilot was a cover. Rescuing the pilot was a cover for the extraction of enriched uranium from Isfahan. We had read some media reports of it earlier. There were crazy plans to use C-130s to land little dozers to dig out the enriched uranium from where it supposedly has been bombed to obliteration. We heard that story from last year, and they were trying to get it out. My simple point is, Arnab, when the talks took place before 28th February, Iran, we were told by the foreign minister of Oman, had agreed to hand over its enriched uranium to the IAEA. Despite that, this operation was launched because...
No. So just to get the other panelists in, 1 minute. General Bakshi, you are of the view that the Americans went in with all this military hardware to get their hands on some enriched uranium so that Donald Trump could say that I have achieved my purpose and this is what I have achieved.
Declare victory.
But then you're also saying that that operation went completely horribly wrong. At this stage, I would like to invite Colonel Doron Avital. He's a former commander of IDF Special Forces. Colonel Avital, this what do you think has happened on the ground which has led to the loss of so much military hardware, Air Force hardware for the American forces?
Well, I don't know the facts completely, and I think my feeling is that it indeed was a rescue operation and not the idea of taking the enriched uranium, but the future will tell what's the real story. But in terms of the question that were raised, whether you generate so many forces, you're talking about 100 special forces soldiers and this amount of aircraft in order to rescue one pilot, this is completely within the logic of an empire like the US or the Israeli army, in which will invest any effort to rescue one of our soldiers. It's a question of value, but it's also.
But that was 300 kilometers away, Colonel Avital. This story has been put out like half the American army went back to rescue one soldier, but that soldier was 300 kilometers away.
I don't want to be a detective. I'm not sure. It takes time to identify what's up, and in those distances with choppers, those are distances that can be covered. But sure, I don't know all the facts. But my feeling, this was a rescue operation. The fact that an American
but why would one rescue operation involve a C-130 plane, two C-130 aircraft, 4 UH-60 Black Hawks, 1 A-10 Warthog, 2 Little Bird helicopters, and Reaper drones? Why would this rescue mission be located 300 to 400 kilometers away? I am just asking this question because over the last 2 days, Tom, the American media has lapped up this theory.
I don't have to talk about I will just say, in terms of the forces that were deployed, this is completely relevant. You're talking about distances and so on. But in terms of the deployment of such force in order to isolate the area, in order to make sure that Iranian soldiers and aircraft don't enter the idea, this is completely reasonable.
Okay, so you're saying it's reasonable that they sent all this military hardware to rescue one pilot. Okay, even if I take that...
As a fact, we did it in my lifetime as a commander of special operations. Okay. We rescued to do things in Lebanon. We did such thing in this magnitude of forces. This is not the question.
Okay,
the question is, of course, the geometry with the distances.
Okay, so it's not a big deal for 500 soldiers and about 10 planes to go in to rescue one soldier. It does happen. Sure. Okay, even if I were to take that at face value, what evidence do I have on the ground right now? Tom, I have footage of a lot of planes and helicopters destroyed on the ground. Let's look at what we have. And that's 300 kilometers away from the place where the pilot went missing, or allegedly where the pilot was found. What do you think has happened here?
We have to stick to the facts. The pilot went down some 50, 60 kilometers south of Isfahan. And in order to pick him up, the Americans had to bring in helicopters to some sort of a runway, whatever was suitable for C-130s, for aircraft the size of C-130s, to land there, unload their helicopters, small helicopters. These are MH-6 Little Birds. Load their special forces into these helicopters, fly to the downed airman, and pick him up. At the same time, they had to protect this place where they have landed C-130s in order for Iranians not to be able to attack the transport aircraft on the ground, because once they're on the ground, they are extremely vulnerable. So it makes perfect sense. I'm sorry to disagree in these regards, but it is so that what we have seen here, that was a rescue operation, nothing else. We have seen rescue operations of similar size already in Vietnam, for example, in the 1960s, in Lebanon in the 1990s, and later on. So there is nothing new from this point of view. What they have lost eventually are 2 aircraft.
So Tom, my follow-up question would be that in these aircraft which were brought in for rescue, I presume there would be hundreds of soldiers. What happens to the soldiers? How are they evacuated?
As far as I know, there were around 120, perhaps 200 soldiers. I don't believe that it is more than, actually, I don't believe 200. It was 120 soldiers, 60 per single aircraft, per single Hercules. Why 60? Because US Special Forces are usually working in teams of 15. So you have 4 teams per aircraft, and for each of them for a specific task. One is securing, for example, this road, another is securing this road. They are securing perimeter of some 2 kilometers around the place where the aircraft have landed. That is the first point.
Okay, so now the point being that you are saying 120 soldiers in 2 planes, 60 each, land.
Plus 4 helicopters.
Plus 4 helicopters. They land in this unused airstrip where they make a base and then they go in for the rescue effort. My question is, how do they travel the distance of 300 kilometers to locate the pilot? 1. 2, how do the 120 strong rescue team, how do they get out of the area? If the planes in which they came are blown up, how do they get out of there?
Can explain everything. Everything easily explained. It was not even 300 kilometers, it was something like 150 kilometers. It's perfectly logical. You have 4 MH-6 helicopters. These are small helicopters. You can load them into a Hercules transport. You push them out of the Hercules transport, unfold the rotor, load 4 troops into each helicopter, fly over there to the pilot who is down, pick him up, fly him out, and then there was a problem. The 2 Hercules transports, they got stuck in the sand. They couldn't turn around. So they had to blow them up together with helicopters. That is clear. That is in order to prevent them from falling into Iranian hands. What they then did was to fly in 3 C-295s to pick up the people, to pick up all the 120 people out of Iran. So that is what has happened.
Then who destroyed? Okay, here's a question, Tom. Just taking off from there. Then who destroyed the transport aircraft? Who blew them up?
The Americans themselves.
Why did they blow them up?
They blew them up before. During such operations, they are always carrying so-called termite grenades. These are incendiary explosives which you put on the aircraft and blow them up together with helicopters inside.
Why did they blow them up? Why didn't they fly the planes out?
In order to prevent prevent a repeat of a similar operation in Iran in 1980, when they have left several intact helicopters behind, and then the Iranians took these helicopters, repaired them, and pressed them into own service. So they didn't want to repeat of that situation.
No, but why did the planes not fly out?
The 2 MC-130s couldn't fly out because they were about, they landed on a very soft piece of more or less level land. And so by turning around, they got stuck in the soft soil with their front wheels. And the crews alone and the special forces that went in the place, they couldn't simply lift this aircraft weighing 30, 40 tons and bring them back to the runway, so to say. This was impossible to do.
So
therefore, they got stuck, and there was no other solution but to destroy them in order to prevent them from being captured.
And then they also became soft targets when they were now getting close to the ground. Therefore, it would not.
Of course, you have to imagine that the Iranians are converging from all directions.
Yeah. My question would be that if to rescue one American pilot using such a large military contingent, you get into such trouble and you lose so much military hardware, then is it easier said than done when Trump talks about putting boots on the ground? I mean,
don't care about Trump. Excuse me. but don't care about Trump and he's bubbling around. No. Care about what are the American troops talking about. And they are in this regards, they have these specially trained combat search and rescue teams. These people are really like that. We have a task which is picking
I understand. See,
we're doing everything what we do.
Tom, see, the thing is this.
Yes, just go on.
See, I tell you this, that I don't want to draw comparisons out here, but this is not unique to the American Special Forces. Every country has special forces who deal with many other active hostile situations. You know, some of the Marine commandos of India are 10 times deadlier than the American Special Forces. In fact, across the world, they are considered to be the deadliest, but we don't keep talking about it. My question was not about the skill of the individual American Special Forces officer. I'm not
talking about the skill. I'm talking about why do
training.
They do that?
Training. My question is, everybody goes through training. Israelis do, the Indian forces do, the Russians do. But my question is that does this whole thing, and I want to ask Mark this, not prove that while you can celebrate the fact that you got your soldier out, if I accept the theory that whatever Tom has said is at face value, there are considerable reverses which have been suffered in that process and considerable soft underbellies which have been exposed. Right. So getting into a more of a ground situation can get very, very, very complicated, can't it? I mean, increasingly, isn't this becoming more and more apparent to everyone in America? Mark?
Well, I think what we heard from the previous speaker is all correct. That is that the United States will go to extreme efforts to rescue one of their pilots. We make that commitment to all of the pilots. That's one of the reasons that they're willing to take such chances. And this wasn't unique. There was an example, for example, during the Vietnam War, one pilot went down. He was on the ground for about 2 days. The United States sent hundreds of aircraft and lost 7 aircraft to get this guy out. They did get him out. So this is standard for the United States and many other countries. It's also not about boots on the ground. Keep in mind that the United States is sending about 7,000 troops to the area. When the United States invaded Iraq, when fought Desert Storm, we had sent hundreds of thousands of troops. So whatever these troops do, it's going to be very limited, maybe taking some of the offshore islands, but it's not going to be on the Iranian mainland.
Why was all this action, in your view, Mark, happening near this Isfahan, Qom, Natanz zone which houses the nuclear facilities?
We have to keep in mind that to get at the uranium, if that's what they wanted to do, they needed heavy equipment. You've got to dig that stuff out. They didn't bring any of the heavy equipment. They did bring what they would need to rescue a pilot. Clearly, the plan was that they land in this airstrip. They have these small helicopters go off. The helicopters pick up the American airmen. They come back. The idea was that they were going to then
this
load
is not a successful
the
operation
aircraft and fly off. 2 of the aircraft couldn't get out.
But Mark,
through the C-130s, so they decided to leave. They decided to leave those aircraft back along with the helicopters, put everyone else in the remaining aircraft, and took off.
No, see, Mark, I'm trying to understand how this is a success. This is the world's biggest military botch-up. Your plane goes down, an F-15 goes down, Apache goes down. They are being brought down one after the other by the regime you used to call the medieval mullah regime. And then after that, your about 200 special forces fly in to rescue this pilot. And in the process, they mess up where they land. They have no way of flying out. They end up bombing their own equipment. And, then they get the hell out of there. I don't understand how this is a success. I mean, this seems like a terrible situation to be in, quite complicated. In fact, I'm alarmed that this is being positioned as some kind of...
We got our man out, and that's what we were trying to do.
But you got your man out, and you lost.
And that's all that matters.
No. This is now, it's not about like, okay, a man is more valuable than the equipment. I get that point that you're trying to say, but I'm asking what former CIA officer Larry Johnson was questioning the official narrative. He said, what was the F-15 doing in that area? What was its mission? Was it trying to prepare for a ground attack on Natanz? In that case, at the very core,
there's no evidence of that. The United States has been launching.
What was the F-15 doing in that area?
Hang on, let me finish.
No, Mark, what was the F-15 doing in that Natanz area?
They're all over southern Iran. This was one of them.
No, I do not understand. What was, I repeat, what was the F-15 doing in that area?
It is easily explained.
F-15s all over Iran every day. Every part of Iran has F-15s over it.
But doesn't this end the whole theory of air superiority, Eric?
No.
Eric?
It doesn't.
It does. Sorry.
I don't think that it really comes into any kind of play there. We're being fired upon from the ground, from everywhere. It's a war zone. Things are going to happen. But when I look at this video as in the journalism world, I have to counter question and question everything. And since we're getting mixed signals from Iran, their media is running a massive PSYOP program right now all over social media. This video doesn't really tell me much of anything other than it's a pile of metal. So in my opinion,
do you believe CNN?
Do I believe CNN? I believe CNN carries a narrative.
Okay, but then, CNN is not an Iranian channel. CNN has geolocated the footage of these burnt out and bombed out planes and helicopters to the southern Isfahan province. What does that tell you, the location of that place next to the nuclear area? That is, was it an attempt to attack the nuclear stations in Natanz?
I mean, we don't have any confirmation of that. The United States government has not confirmed or denied what that involves.
But for Osama bin Laden, leaner machines were used. It was 2011, right? Operation Neptune Spear. And you used like 2 Black Hawk helicopters, right? I've still not understood why to rescue an individual who is not a hostile, who is your own man. Why you have to send half an army in?
You're talking about Navy SEALs going in the smaller group going in and extracting a known terrorist in a country that allowed us to go in there and extract the known terrorist. So that's a completely.
You're saying Pakistan told you to come and extract Osama bin Laden? That was never part of any official narrative.
I mean, Pakistan allowed.
They denied having given. They denied having given any sort of. They had denied any knowledge that Osama was in Abbottabad.
They knew. And when we look at this scenario, and it's still apples and oranges. We're talking about Navy SEALs versus, other groups that are not as elite as the Navy SEALs. The Navy SEAls don't need 200 people to go in and extract one American. They could have done it much quickly. However, Navy SEAls.
No, but I'm trying to get to another point here. That do you believe, Eric, and let me ask Tatiana this, do you believe that what the special forces were doing was to try and secure a stockpile of enriched uranium? Though Donald Trump did say, I don't care where the uranium is. I don't care it is, but do you think that could have been the real motive here?
I don't know what the motive is, and I can't really speak on that. What we're looking at is a video of a pile of metal in an area that's close to the pilot, that's close to the uranium. So, without having confirmation, it's hard to know what President Trump's theories are. I think a lot of the buildup to the theories that we've heard have been debunked by our panel here. So it's very clear that the United States government, when we have downed aircraft, we will destroy any evidence, anything that can be pulled from the wreckage. It's standard procedure amongst our military to do such things. It is also standard procedure to use every asset we have available to bring every single American home that we're capable of. And even if they shot down every plane that we sent over there, we will just go get $100 billion worth of more planes and send them over there to get them again.
That's all braggadocio. You know, right now with 22...
It's a little bit of a stretch, though, Eric, because it takes a lot of time to build that plane. You know, it can't be done in a day. But Arnab, I'll have to... However, unfortunately, I'll have to agree with my American counterparts. Having graduated in nuclear physics, actually, I studied it at uni. This is my master's. I don't see how a team of Navy SEALs could extract enriched uranium that is tactical, safety, and all things considered nightmare of an operation. It's just not that simple. Also, we need to understand that the facility in Isfahan, I actually think I was very lucky. I was supposed to travel there last year to see Isfahan. I was very lucky that they didn't give me a visa. I would have been there in June. It's deep underground. It's not as easy to get in there. I think that the use of such force to extract a downed pilot is actually quite justified for a very simple reason. That pilot is the only person who knew for a fact what he was doing in the area. And knowing Iranian, military branch, the IRGC, they're quite good at extracting information. So under no circumstances could that pilot have been, captured by Iranians. If I'm looking at this from a perspective of the country that sent that pilot to do whatever he was trying to do, and the closest I've ever gotten to a military operation of that sort is probably by watching G.I. Jane, but even that backs the whole thing up, That is exactly what happens. And I respect the military experts on this panel. Mr. Cooper, who is a great specialist. Yep. I think that everything that he said actually makes perfect sense. So they wouldn't want that pilot to ever be captured by the Iranians because he would have spoken, he would have talked. Yep. And the Iranians would have gotten the worst thing that could get in this situation, real information about military operations of the US that they're planning to do, whatever they're planning to do. Yep. We see those jets over Iran. Today, a drone was flying over Bushehr area. That was something that we've also, all of us have seen, has been reported in the news. We know they're there. The only people who know what they're doing there are the people who are piloting the drones or in those planes. And this is, I believe, why today, for instance, we saw a drone flying over Bushehr, because the Iranians have proven they can down the jets. And if they capture the pilot, they know exactly what the pilot was doing there. Not straight away, but faster, arguably.
Trump is speaking live. Can you cut him in the middle of the shot? Trump is speaking live. I'd like to hear what he's saying just for a moment, please. Thank you.
Our country happy. I think most people wouldn't understand that. I'll give you an example. Venezuela has worked out so incredibly. We have 100 million barrels of oil right now in Houston being refined. It's been great. The relationship with Venezuela, the leaders, has been fantastic. And I think we're going to have a long-term, very good relationship. And it might be beyond long-term. You understand what it is. Well, I tell you what, I'm pretty good at this stuff, and I go around and I check. They'd like to see us win and come home. And I appreciate CNN. For the first time maybe in my life, they did a poll. And everyone's saying, oh, is Trump losing MAGA? No, I'm not losing MAGA. MAGA loves what I'm doing. And CNN did a poll of MAGA voters, a big poll, very important poll, Harry. And he went on, he said, this is amazing, 100% support. He said, I've never had a 100% poll at anything before. And do you support Trump, MAGA people, which is, by the way, mostly Republican. And if you look, I would say MAGA makes up a majority, like about 95% of the Republican Party, all right? So they went out, they did a poll, and CNN came back 100% support. So they support what we're doing, but they would like to see it end and come back. But remember, wars last years. We're in there for 34 days. And we've obliterated a very powerful country in 34 days. Yeah, if it were up to me, I'd like to keep the oil. I just don't think the people of the United States would really understand.
How is it taking care of the Iranian people if you're bombing?
Yeah, who are you with? Who are you with? Well, that's a radical left group of lunatics that you're with. Let me just tell you, very fair question. The Iranian people, when they don't hear bombs go off, they're upset. They want to hear bombs because they want to be free. And the only reason they're not out protesting, you know that, is because they were informed that if they protest, like the wrestler and his friends, if they protest, they will be shot immediately. And that's an edict, that's in writing. If they protest, if they go out in the streets, they will be immediately shot. They don't have guns. You know, we sent some guns, but the group that was supposed to give, which I said would happen to my people, I said it, I called it exactly. We sent guns, a lot of guns. They were supposed to go to the people so they could fight back against these thugs. You know what happened? The people that they sent them to kept them because they said, what a beautiful gun, I think I'll keep it. So I'm very upset with a certain group of people, and they're going to pay a big price for that. But the Iranian people will fight back as soon as they know they're not going to be shot and as soon as they can get weapons. If they had weapons, not many of them, if they had weapons that would go in the other way, and you know what would happen? Iran would give up in 2 seconds because they wouldn't be able to take it. But in Iran, they have absolutely no weaponry, and they've been told point blank, if you come out to the streets, you will be killed. As of this morning, and we have this on pretty good information, 45,000 protesters have been killed. Pretty bad.
Mr. President, you said Iran has been obliterated. Why are we still at war then?
It's a big country. They can't fight back. They have no capability. I mean, they have some missiles left. They have some drones left, but essentially they have no capability. They had a lucky shot with an airplane, but we got them back out. The rescue was incredible. And it wasn't of one person, it was of 2 persons. There are those that say that's never happened before, because usually when you're shot down in strong enemy and deep enemy territory, you can't go after them because you'll end up losing 250 people to get one. So it's a terrible thing. But we had to make a decision. Do we do it or do we not? And we did. And, you know, we have some helicopters with a lot of bullet holes in them right now. Probably you know that. Now, I'm very honored to have rebuilt our military. We rebuilt our military in my first term. I'm using it in our second term. And we are the most respected country anywhere in the world with the greatest military anywhere in the world. Thank you. So we have a news conference. You'll all be there, so you can ask the question in a little while. We have a news conference in a little while. What would you like to ask her?
What she wants to say, Madam First Lady, can you tell us your message to children in finance?
Well, all of this is happening for their future, so they will be safe in years to come.
We're fighting for children that are now in a war zone. We're keeping them as safe as we can possibly.
Who's going to be reporting on that he's putting a very brave face to it. He said the 100% of the vote is with him, right? But is it?
He's talking about the MAGA voters, Arnab. There was a poll which was held recently, and he's talking about the CNN poll. So MAGA voters certainly are supporting him, but obviously, as I've been saying earlier, that they don't want him to go on for a prolonged war. I just want to add to what your debate, our fellow panelist was talking about, what I've gathered from the ground. There are 2 elements of this operation. One, this was a very successful operation as part of a strategy of leaving no one behind. Every professional armed force does it. The US does it. The Indians do it. So that was part of this operation. This pilot had to be brought back home. And my sense is the press conference that President Trump will address will also talk about that. On the uranium extraction part, I would agree with my fellow panelists that this particular operation was not about this, because obviously the kind of equipment that you need is very different. The kind of, obviously the personnel that you wanted to get on the ground would have been very, very different. So I don't see this as a uranium extraction operation. This was purely operation determined to get the pilot back home, which they've done, and I would say...
Okay, I take that. Since you all agree on that. But what is the level of commitment?
When it goes to the...
Yeah, but what is the level of commitment that Trump will be looking to go in for the next stage? That is the question I want an answer somewhere on this.
I will tell you what is happening. I'm also hearing that there is some kind of a deal which is being worked as we speak today.
No, I think there has been. By the way, I agree with you. Let me tell you the statement from the Iranians. Sorry, I missed that one out. A statement which comes from the Iranians. I'm just reading this out, very interesting, where they say that, the agency said, Iranian media, after 2 weeks of top-level review, Iran has communicated its response to the US proposal to end the war through Pakistan. The 10-point plan rejects a simple ceasefire, stressing the need for a permanent solution that safeguards Iran's interests. Key demands include ending regional hostilities, ensuring safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz, lifting sanctions, and rebuilding affected areas. Does this seem like a slight dilution? They are talking about ending regional hostilities, ensuring safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz. This sounds like an American demand than Iranian one. Lifting sanctions and rebuilding affected areas. And the head of the Iranian diplomatic mission in Cairo said, "We will not merely accept a ceasefire. We can only accept an end of the war with guarantees that we won't be attacked again."
These are maximalist positions, and I can also tell you...
No, but is there a softening?
The talks have moved beyond the Pakistan angle now. Qatar is involved. There are other countries in the region which are getting involved because they realize the futility of the Pakistanis being honest brokers. That has been...
No, but Trump has also said in his news conference, Mark, that war is about one thing. Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. So he's brought it back to one issue. He's no longer talking about Strait of Hormuz or enriched uranium. Trump needs a single point issue to get out. And he's made this about, in the press conference we just saw, only and only about Iran having nuclear weapons, which they almost agreed to anyway, hadn't they? Before the February 28th. Mark? Mark, can you unmute yourself, please?
The administration has certainly put Iran's nuclear weapons on top of its agenda, but they've also talked about the ballistic missile program, destroying that, making sure that that doesn't be reconstituted, and also that Iran cease supporting its proxies in the region and destabilizing its neighbors. And they've been pretty consistent about those three. So I think that will continue, but the nuclear is clearly number one.
I think he's indicated, and I'm going to a break, he's indicating that he's closing this because he said, if it were up to me, I'd like to take Iran's soil and take care of the people of Iran, but the American public want us to come home. The American public want us to come home. Ladies and gentlemen, he's wrapping this up. Watch this week. I had said earlier that you'll see things change around the 10th of April. It's not yet the 10th of April, and he's almost getting there. I see a softening by Iran, and I see an explanation by Trump that he can't carry on because he thinks the people want him to come back. Even for getting out of that, he's going to blame the American people. When I'm back tonight, the bad language used by Donald Trump, the F word, the B word, and how far he will go. What does it tell you about his state of mind and his cognitive abilities when we are back?
Powered by Century Ply Club Prime. Raho befikar.
Where is he? 4 घंटे से वेट कर रही हूँ उसका. कहाँ है वो?
अब भी गया.
Let's continue with the shirt.
Sure.
बंदे को लिनन पसंद है तो पसंद है. बोलो आप क्या बनवाओगे? Linen by Arvind.
13,000 placements last year. At Amity,
We are committed to nurturing passionate, hardworking and proactive professionals.
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा प्योर मसाला।
Corrector, the taste of success.
प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाए जीरा से MTH का जलजीरा जीरा से।
जीरा से असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
Join IIHM, International Institute of Hotel Management. To know more about ECHAT exam, call 98310 50,000.
Powered by Century Ply Club Prime. Raho befikar.
Where is he? 4